Hello, everybody. How's it going? Hope everyone's having a great day, a great week. We are back with the pipeline, and may I say, it's been a crazy week. We got some Secret Invasion, we got some Super Low, some Gotham Knights, some Netflix news, It's been a crazy week, some massive stuff all around. But today, I am joined by Toxic Taz, our pretty regular co-host by this point. Taz, it's great to have you here. How's it going?
It is good to be here. Thank you once again for having me back on the stream. Doing well as always.
And once again, joining us, special guest, Chosen Vader. It's great
What's
to have
up?
you back on the channel. So regular Darren, he actually said, you know what, screw it. I'm taking 6 weeks off of the show. So Scrawl Darren is here to take over. He actually said, screw everyone. I hate the show so much. But we're here. Taz came back, and that's always great. As always, so I have some news here. I have a bunch of headlines because, again, this has been a crazy headline week. Just like little tidbits of stuff I want to talk about. So let's kind of get in here. We have 3 shows this week. We probably have 3 shows next week as well as we finish up Super and Lois and Gotham Knights. So let's just jump into these news headlines. Straight off the bat, to dumb, Netflix's event that happened over the week gave us a lot of little tiny trailers and news updates on things like One Piece and like Rebel Moon and Outer Banks and Heartstopper and Stranger Things and all the amazing stuff that Netflix has to offer. I just want to ask, out of everything that kind of came out from this event, are there any things that you guys are really excited to see from the, I guess, studio company? Anything that you guys are just really excited for?
The Witcher Season 3. Even though it's going to be Henry Cavill's final season, I mean,
Sure.
that's probably the one that I'm the most excited for. And then that little behind-the-scenes, like, featurette type of thing for Rebel Moon actually got me a little bit more interested than I was originally, so I think I'll definitely be checking that out as well. But yeah, I'd say definitely Witcher Season 3, even if it is very sad that it's going to be Henry Cavill's final season.
Chosen, do you have one?
I actually have 2 that I'm
Okay.
excited. Stranger Things, of course, season 5, the final season, and Cobra Kai season 6. I can't forget about it.
Absolutely. No, I mean Cobra Kai. Oh man, I mean Taz, you're also a pretty big
Yes.
Cobra Kai fan. It's so weird to think we're on the final season.
We're on the final season of a lot of things.
We are. It's such a weird show because it feels like it's been going on for ages, but it also feels like it just started. Like it feels like this Netflix era. Oh man, it's such a crazy ride, and I am glad it's getting its final season. I was afraid for a minute, even though like the way it ended could have been a cool final season if that's the way they wanted to go. But it is nice that we kind of get to wrap up this legacy. And then I'm just fearful for that new movie that's coming out. I hope that doesn't like carry of Cobra Kai.
Oh yeah, I feel like that's going to be very, very separate. At least we can hope that it'll be separate, and Cobra Kai can just kind of wrap up its own thing.
Yeah, and I think just for me, I mean, Cobra Kai, of course, Stranger Things, of course. I love the first season of Heartstopper. I thought that was a really fun show, and of course, I think the main one everyone, at least a lot of people, are pretty excited for is the new Avatar live action show. This has been a weird one kind of going into it because of course like this was announced, what was it, like 5 years ago by this point? Like it's been a while kind of like in the making. And then the like creators left, and then they're like, you know what, we're gonna make our own like cinematic universe over at our own studio. So Taz, are you a fan of this show at all?
My brother is. Shout out to my brother. He was a big fan of this show, and he's trying to get me into watching it. And I actually asked him about it. I was like, hey, does this look good to you? I know they tried to do one, like a live action, what was it, a movie a while back, and people didn't seem to like that.
Yeah,
and what I've seen, this looks a lot more in line with the animated series.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it's a weird ride because everything I've heard from this, just like from the casting to what we've heard, has all just sounded amazing. But then there's the thing of like, so why did the creators leave? Why did they not approve of what this show is doing? So I'm very curious. Chosen, are you a fan of like Avatar at all?
No, but can I just say, even though I'm not a big fan, can I just say that first photo looks cool?
It does. He looks really good. I think all the casting, just like the sets look really cool. But yeah, I'm very hyped for this. Maybe by 2024 we can get Taz to get caught up on Avatar.
Oh
We're
yeah.
just making a list.
Yeah, no, I've just got this whole
on.
list just of so many shows that I need to catch
Sure.
up on. I will get there. Trust me. I'm not just saying I'm gonna watch them. I will watch them. Believe me. Please believe me.
Moving on here, San Diego Comic-Con is next month. Crazy, feels like we've been waiting forever for that next Comic-Con, and it currently, I don't know what that word was I just said. Apparently, Universal, HBO, and Marvel Studios are all skipping out on Comic-Con this year, or at least Hall H. What are you guys' thoughts on this? Are you? I guess no one would be excited, but like, is anyone like really upset about them not going?
I'm not surprised. I mean, ever since we had just like the COVID years of just skipping Comic-Con entirely and different studios having their own kind of Comic-Con replacements, like Star Wars has Star Wars Celebration now. DC did that fandom for a couple years. Marvel now just releases a lot of their new information at D23. It doesn't surprise me that they're not going to have a massive presence at San Diego Comic-Con this year. It is sad that it's never going to really be at the caliber that it once was. I remember just, every year that was such a big thing. We would have all these panels, all these interviews, all these trailers for just everything that was coming up within the next year or so, and just to not have that anymore, it's definitely pretty sad. But again, it's not very shocking, at least from my perspective.
Sure. Chosen?
Honestly, I don't even care at this point. I don't care. That's all I gotta say. I don't care. It's fine. Let's skip this. Okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
You know what, Marvel Steel? I'm glad you skipped it.
I will say I think I wonder even how much they have currently, because I know like each event where I'm like, there can't be that much left that they haven't told us, and they just like put out a whole up to phase 7 and here's everything that's happening. And I think with them seeming to want to phase back a little bit and hopefully slow down with what we are getting, I think this is smart. I wonder if DC's going though, because like they could like erupt this year. Like I think they have enough that they could absolutely carry Comic-Con, and I think that'd be great. I mean,
they can destroy Marvel at this point.
Oh, I mean, like last year, I think it was last year with like the whole Rock thing, and like the only thing they were like, maybe Henry Cavill's coming back. I don't know, but he's not here. Like last year made me so sad because that's all they had, and then Marvel was like, here's our slate for the next 10 years. Enjoy this. And it made me so sad. Like this is what Marvel is, and this is what they can do, and then DC. At that point in time, I would say was that this like all-time low, because we didn't know what's happening. No Superman, no Batman. We didn't know what happened with like Wonder Woman. And now kind of seeing where we are now, like a year later, it is kind of cool. Like, oh, we're getting a Superman, we're getting a Wonder Woman, we got a Batman, we got a Green Lanterns and Swamp Things and Supergirls, and so I'm very curious. And I think for the first time in a while, DC is like, yeah, we can like compete with this other studio. Not that there has to be like a competition. But like they can both be putting out some cool stuff, I think.
Can I just say something real quick?
Go ahead.
In 50 years, I'm expecting Phase 10 to have maybe new heroes, new villains. Maybe Galactus comes in Phase 10 and starts fighting random heroes, Like, please, Galactus, save Marvel for us. Please, I'm begging you, Galactus. I know you can do this. Because right now, Marvel is not in the right direction, if you know what I mean. Especially Phase 4. But yeah.
Alrighty, up next here. So this week we had our first trailer, which I was not expecting this week, for Kraven the Hunter. Taz, really quick, I want to hear your thoughts on the Kraven the Hunter trailer. Obviously, this has been a very weird movie because I guess we just kind of didn't know much about it. The Sonyverse has been a very weird place. How are you kind of feeling about it currently?
It's Kraven time. No, I thought it looked interesting. I'm definitely a little bit more intrigued by the movie than I was originally. Do I think it will be like a cinematic masterpiece? Do I think it will be super incredible, amazing, just the greatest addition to this Sony Spider-Verse ever? Probably not. It somewhat looks on the same level as Morbius, which I haven't seen for obvious reasons.
Oh, interesting.
But I think like the back half of this trailer, the fact that the action seems to be on point in to some degree gets me somewhat interested for it. And the fact I think that Aaron Taylor Johnson is your lead, he is playing Kraven.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a big draw for a lot of people. And I think it is pretty cool that now he's played Quicksilver, he's played Kick-Ass, and now he's going to be playing Kraven the Hunter as well. So a nice resume there.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a weird movie because, like, this first half, I was like, I kind of don't care. I was like, this kind of looks like what Sony was putting out. And then there's something about that back half of the trailer where he's like hunting fools and he's killing people. And he's just kind of like, this is like, all of this just looks like fun action thriller, rated R fun. It really, really does, with like those comic book flares in here. And I mean, like, it's going to like, I don't know what we're doing with the Sonyverse. I don't know what like their end goal is. If it's Spider-Man, if it's whatever it is.
It almost feels like they're trying to assemble their own Sinister Six and almost like do a backwards version of what they were doing with the Andrew Garfield movies, as they were setting up the Sinister Six after those films, but they're almost like setting up a Sinister Six and then maybe they're going to bring a Spider-Man in at some point.
Sure.
But that's really the only real connective tissue between any of these films, is that they could be the groundwork for a Sinister Six versus Spider-Man type of movie.
It's weird because I mean, this movie has Kraven. I think this trailer also has like Chameleon, and then of course
the
like
Rhino.
the Rhino, which is a huge, like, I won't say huge character, but it's a pretty decently big Spider-Man character. Seeming to be a little different from, you know, what we're kind of used to seeing. But I kind of like the whole kind of like mutant vibe that he's going for. And I mean, does this mean this isn't the like Andrew Garfield like universe?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would kind of throw that away. I mean, there's no thing to say that he couldn't potentially pop up, and that's not like his film universe, but it's just another universe where Andrew Garfield is also Spider-Man. But I don't know, it is interesting that they're going the whole like mutant Rhino here instead of just dude in a rhino suit or dude in a rhino mech suit.
I mean, I guess there could be two, maybe, like if these are two different kinds of rhinos. I don't know. Chosen, do you have any thoughts on this Kraven trailer?
I'm gonna say a few words, okay? After the failure of Venom 2, after the failure of Morbius, I am not wasting my money on buying tickets on watching this movie because I know it's gonna be terrible. I don't trust Sony anymore. I'm sorry.
Even after Across the Spider-Verse?
Oh yeah, I forgot. Across the Spider-Verse. That's the only good movie. Okay. That's a good movie.
Live action Sony.
Yeah.
That's a good movie.
It is very interesting because it's like on one side of the thing, they just put out some of the best like superhero stuff ever. And then on this side of things, they just don't. And I'm very curious about Phil and Lord because they're doing I think it's the like Silk live action show and then the like Spider-Man Noir show as well. So I mean, with them involved, I would assume it's on the like caliber of your like Spider-Verse type stuff. But I don't know.
Wait, hold up. So Taz, you didn't watch Morbius?
I did not. No.
Oh, good.
Watch party.
I think I ended up watching like the CinemaSins of it, and that was the extent that I went with it.
That was a movie indeed.
It was one of the movies of all time.
Like, what happened, Sony? Like, you did a good job with Venom 1, and then now you're doing this? Well, I don't get this. Like, Venom 1 was actually pretty good, if you think about it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think like Kraven almost looks like it could be at least better than Venom 2.
Maybe. I hope so, because I don't want this movie to, you know.
Yeah, I think, I mean, Venom, I like those Venom movies for me are just like these guilty pleasure, fun, campy films. Like they're not great, but I enjoy every second of it.
Just trying to turn your brain off and just enjoy it for what it is.
Morbius isn't even like, it's just kind of boring. Like it's kind of just.
Morbius is boring because there's no story, you know? There's no story. It's just all because of jokes. Oh, let's dance, you know? Let's do the Morbin time, you know? That's all they do in the whole movie. It's nothing interesting.
Justin in the chat. I'm sorry, Justin. I just saw your comments. You said not watching Craven because it's Sony.
Justin. I agree.
I do think, I will say, I do think Sony does feel like they're a company that is trying to get their stuff together. It does feel like, with this upcoming Miles movie that they're seemingly to make, with Spider-Gwen, with Spider-Man Noir, and all these, like Silk, like these finally feel like projects that we maybe not have been asking for, but like seeming like what fans would want from a Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man.
Now that you mention Across the Spider-Verse, I feel like the way they ended the movie, but to be continued, I feel like Sony did that on purpose, for us to wait until next year. You know, that's what Sony loves to do. They love to make us wait.
So speaking of the Sonyverse, El Morito, I hope I pronounced that name right, has been delayed.
I think it's El Muerto.
Okay, thank you, Taz. Has been delayed indefinitely due to the writer's strike.
What's El Morito?
Okay, Taz, do you know anything about this character? Because I know very little.
I believe he's just like a random luchador wrestler that fights Spider-Man sometimes.
Yeah. What?
And it's just like a random deep cut character that they thought would be a great idea for a movie.
Who created this character? Please tell me.
Let me just do a little bit of research real quick.
I don't think. I mean, the character itself isn't an issue. I think the issue is why this character. Why, like, what? Yeah. What's the passion between bringing this character into his own solo movie? And like if like Across the Spider-Verse taught us anything, like these like villains of the week can work, right? Obviously, but I don't know. I feel like there's so many other spider type characters that we could be seeing.
Okay, I've got the little like blurb on Marvel.com.
All right, do it. Go for it.
Determined to defeat wrestling god El Dorado, who killed his father and earned the right to his family's legacy mask, Juan Carlos Estrada Sanchez becomes the luchador known as El Muerto.
That sounds a lot more interesting.
So some magical mask.
Sure. I don't know. I don't know. This is one of those.
That sounds boring, honestly.
I'm so conflicted about this one because I'm always in for doing interesting things with our comic book movies, right? We have so many of them now. You kind of have to mix it up every once in a while. But I don't know. I don't know about this one. So maybe it might stay. Maybe it might get canceled. Like I could get the vibe.
This thing's never coming out.
I could see a world. Yeah, because it does seem like Sony, it does seem like they are trying to pick up their quality and things and make better-ish movies. So I guess we'll see.
He actually seems like a discount Bane. That's really the best way to explain it. He's Bane without the venom.
Calvin just said, just finished last night's Gotham Knights. Pretty solid. Taz, not, obviously not jumping into it yet. Would you agree?
Very, very solid episode. Once again, just improves every week. I don't know what was going on with the CW when they decided to cancel it, but I'll leave those thoughts for later. Justin
says, just give us that Zendaya movie, Sony. Not sure what that would look like, but I would probably prefer it over this. Alrighty, zooming right across here because we do got a lot of things to talk about today. Obviously, the newest Secret Invasion episode dropped tonight, and we will be talking about that later in the night. But Samuel Jackson doesn't have any plans to retire from playing Nick Fury. Taz, how do you feel about this? Do you want Nick Fury forever, or do you think there should be like an end game for this actor with this character?
I think as long as Sam Jackson wants to play Nick Fury, he should be allowed to play Nick Fury. I just think it's so great that the whole reason he's playing Nick Fury is because somebody decided they wanted Nick Fury in the comics to look like Samuel L. Jackson, and then they did it, and then obviously they brought him in for the movies. Mm-hmm. So Sam Jackson's great. Just let him keep playing Nick Fury forever. But I would say make a Nick Fury solo movie directed by Quentin Tarantino. And then that's the real send-off.
Maybe. I mean, Nick Fury is kind of weird because kind of going into Secret Invasion, I was like, oh, okay, I could see a world where maybe this is the last or one of the last projects that we, start to wrap this character up. And then like 2 weeks later, he appears in the like Marvel's trailer. I was like, oh, I guess not. Nothing in that show matters.
Spoilers, he survives.
Yeah. And it was like, oh, like he might actually die here. It's like, nope, he's totally fine, and he's like back in space, and it's all good.
There's no way they'd get rid of him though. Especially if he wants to keep playing the character. That would just be bad financial move, Marvel.
Well, yeah, I think it does seem like he's very chill about this character, and I get it. Like, these movies pay a lot. And he's also a character, like Secret Invasion and like the like Marvel seem a little bit different because he is a big prominent role. But most of the time, he could probably show up for like a week and then be done. Like, he has this massive paycheck and he just shows up for this short amount of time. So it probably is like a really good gig for him. And he probably meets all these different directors and actors and stuff like that can help him out in his larger career, I guess. I am curious because I was even wondering if we could have had like a world where like Maria Hill kind of takes, or I'm sorry, not Maria, WandaVision, Monica. I thought maybe that she could have kind of taken that role, from him, almost like this passing of the torch. But I don't know. I'm totally fine keeping this man around. Chosen, do you like Nick Fury? Are you happy?
He's a great character. GOAT character. I want him to stay. Samuel Jackson is the best actor I've seen to play Nick Fury. Please let him stay forever. I don't care. Honestly, I'm gonna say he's the best character in the MCU.
That's fair. I think that's a very good pick. Very good pick. I like it. Alrighty, moving right along here, going into some DC news. I can't talk today. Sasha Calle says that she met with Peter Safran about her future at DC. It felt like my whole life was preparing me for this role in a way. Taz, we talked about this over on your stream the other day. Had a great time. We talked for about 3 hours about that movie, and it was such a blast. Starting with you this time, Chosen. Do you want to see Supergirl continue in the DCEU played by Sasha Calle?
Yes, she's probably the best Supergirl we have. Better than Melissa.
Ooh, hot take. Hot take up in here. Taz, are you vibing with this Supergirl?
Oh, yeah. No, I thought she was one of the best parts, if not my favorite part of the Flash movie. And again, just reiterating what we said earlier, is it would be a giant misstep for DC to not bring her back. She's so passionate about the role. She seems so excited about the character of Supergirl. And she played the role so well. So I don't see why you would go with any other option at this point.
She deserves her own movie.
Yeah, I agree. I think Sasha did a very good job here. And it is very crazy because
that movie?
Yes, right there.
She was such a big part of this movie going into it, and she didn't have a lot here. She had like 15 minutes or so. So I think that she deserves her own stuff. I want her to have more screen time. Girl of Tomorrow feels like Woman of Tomorrow. I'm sorry.
Wait, like, is this a hot take?
What is it?
Her suit is the best Supergirl suit we had.
I can see that.
Because I don't know. It just that like the blue and red fits perfect. Like it's perfect. You know, like I don't care what anyone thinks. Like that's probably the best suit we have. Oh, and I know a lot of people are saying, why is her hair not blonde? Who cares?
Doesn't matter. No.
It does not matter.
It really does not.
I think the only modification I'd do to that suit was give it red boots. That would be
I agree. I think that's the one thing I wanted from the suit, like red boots. Like it would be way better, you know?
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, no, I mean, I really like that first Supergirl suit as well. Actually, I don't think that like the show had a bad suit. Like I think they both looked really good.
I don't think there's ever been a bad Supergirl suit. To be honest,
I think for the show, is it like season 5 when we saw that suit with the pants?
Yeah, I believe it was 5 right before Crisis. Yeah.
Yeah, that suit is probably her best suit.
That's fair. Yeah. I think I am I do prefer the skirt. I think just personally, but. No, I mean, again, I don't think there's a bad choice.
Cool. I like the skirt too. Like that one was pretty cool.
I think it's just one of them where it's not really a bad choice. Like they're all they're all pretty good so far. We'll have to see what Woman of Tomorrow has in store though. So going down the line, we've officially, the Flash is out now, and it feels weird to say that, like, it's out, it's out there, and now that it is, like, we can kind of move forward with what the, like, DCU is going to be, and we can kind of push forward and kind of with, I guess, the future of, like, the DC universe, and Gal Gadot hints at her future as Wonder Woman, or that's what the headlines are trying to push forward. She said things are being worked behind the scenes, and once the right moment arrives, you'll know what it's about. This is an interesting one indeed, I think, because, there's been a lot of back and forth. A lot of people think she's sticking around. A lot of people think that she's gonzo. Taz, do you want Wonder Woman to stick around? This version of this character to, like, stick around?
I would like her to stick around, but this quote definitely makes me think that there's nothing concrete going on right now. Like, I don't feel like there's really been a decision made one way or the other. I just feel like there's not really an idea set for Wonder Woman going forward right now in the new DCU, since we've already had her in 2 solo movies and everything like that. I feel like James Gunn's direction is going to be focusing on other characters and then bringing back the characters that we've already seen previously. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's weird because Chapter 1, even though that there is, like, a prequel show, there doesn't seem to be, as of yet, a real direct, I guess, passion to do Wonder Woman straight away. It seems like we might really focus on your Superman, your, like, Batman, a lot of these, like, authorities and Swamp Things, and maybe, like, Constantine's and Dick Grayson. Like, with all the characters he's teased, there hasn't been a lot of talk around Wonder Woman just yet. Which is interesting. I think Gal, like, I love Gal's Wonder Woman. I think she's really good. I think though, like, I think just any of the, like, Justice League is weird. Like, I think you need, I don't have a problem with keeping your, like, Harley around, your, like, Amanda Waller, your Peacemaker, some of the smaller ones. But I do think if you are looking to start a new brand, a new, like, kind of outlook on what the DC universe is, I think keeping around your Gal and your like Wonder Woman, your, like, Aquaman, maybe isn't your best choice.
Yeah, I mean, if you're recasting 2 of your 3 main DC Trinity characters, it would be kind of weird to keep the third member. Yeah. While I would love to see her back as Wonder Woman, while I thought that she was great in the role, I love the Wonder Woman theme, as everybody does, but it just, the way that we're rebooting everything and starting from scratch, for the most part, with this new DC Trinity, with a new Batman, with a new Superman, it would just feel weird if we didn't also have a new Wonder Woman at some point as well.
Yeah, no, and I obviously this actress isn't, like, old or anything, but, like, we are seemingly aiming for maybe a younger Superman, and I mean, I guess we're doing, like, mid-30s Bruce, so I guess Gal could work here, but I don't know. I do think if we are looking to start fresh, I want a fresh face for a lot of these characters, especially after how we ended the Flash. I obviously don't want to spoil it for anyone who still hasn't seen it, but I do think it does kind of call for, like, a complete reset now. Calvin says, Aquaman 2, man, I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, we've been talking about that quite a bit over in here.
Yeah, that's confusing. That's really confusing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously it's a thing where, like, it was obviously originally supposed to be part of that original DCEU timeline, but, like, they had it come out after the Flash. Does that mean new timeline? Does it, something happens at the end of the Flash? Does anything that happens?
I was gonna say something about that. You know why? You know why I say it's confusing? Because of that post-credit scene. It gets me more confused. I'm like, bro, what is going on at this point?
Yeah, no, I thought that ending was pretty weird. It was a weird ending. Aquaman 2, man, like, I'll be honest, like, my hype for Aquaman 2 is at an all-time low. It really is. Like, I loved that first movie, I really did, but
I can't blame you, honestly.
I think it's just like I think it is a casual like Blue Beetle. They have like cemented that it's like this fresh start into this new universe. Like okay, that's really exciting. We can jump on board with this character that we've never seen. But I think just with this universe thing, with all the controversies with actors, with just not seeing anything from this movie. Like this movie comes out in what 5 months? Like we need to see something soon, and I think it'll probably be San Diego next month. But yeah.
I have a proposition. I will trade Aquaman 2 for the Batgirl film. Take it or leave it.
You know what? You know what? Sure. Let's do that. You know what? Let's do that. Can we do that real quick, please? I want Batgirl to come out instead of this movie, okay? Thank you.
Especially since they also said that they were planning on doing a Batman Beyond with Michael Keaton as well.
Are you serious?
Yeah. That apparently if The Flash had done better. Oh, wow. Look at that. I'm psychic.
All right, yeah. I mean, let's just jump right into here then. So a Batman Beyond film with Michael Keaton was reportedly in talks had The Flash performed well. If this movie did well as the Batman opened at 130 million. One of the next Batman movies they're going to make is a Batman Beyond with Michael Keaton. I mean, we had heard about like several different versions of a Batman Beyond series. We had heard one was like Michael Keaton several like half a year ago or so. Then we heard that there was like an animated one happening, which I actually would still really love if that could still happen. And then there seemed to still be kind of plans, and this is a project that I think out of all the like canceled projects, I could still see this happening at some point. Like I really do.
Oh yeah, I could easily see it happening even as like an Elseworlds film.
Yes.
Especially since they're still having that Elseworlds label. I think it's definitely a possibility. Just I guess the only question is the money for it available. Mm-hmm. But I feel like you could make a Batman Beyond film for not a massive budget. Like I don't think that you would have to spend a whole lot on it. Like it's going to be mostly grounded, just make things look a little futuristic, put some neon lights, and boom, you're in the future.
I wonder how this would have done in like a box office, because obviously Batman is a very popular IP. People love Batman. People will. I think you could put Batman on anything and people will go watch it. But like, The Flash didn't do well, and like a big part of that was Batman. So are people not? Do people not vibe with Michael Keaton? Is he the issue? Is it just the like DCU as a whole being like, I don't know what's happening, I'm not seeing this movie? Is it just like the crowded month that June was? Because June was a very crowded. I think that had a big part in like all of this.
I think it's a mix of a lot of those different factors. I also think it comes back to the idea that a lot of fans feel like The Flash didn't matter because the DCU was going to be rebooted anyway. But I do think the time that the movie came out, I think some of the controversy surrounding the film as well maybe played into the box office not being as big as they would have liked. But I feel like Michael Keaton was honestly one of the biggest draws towards the Flash film for people that weren't really going into it just as a Flash movie. Like, they're like, oh, Michael Keaton's back as Batman? I'm sure I'll give this Flash movie a try. But I think if they marketed Batman Beyond with Michael Keaton in mind, I think they could do something great with it, honestly.
That's probably fair. That's probably fair. I'm still very open to like an like animated version of this because I think that could look really cool. And hopefully people wouldn't get like confused with like the old show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Oh, we got sent back a little bit here.
Gotta go back in time.
Swamp Thing, obviously one of our new upcoming DC projects. Very excited for Swamp Thing. So he had something to say. James Mangold, great director. He said, while I'm sure DC views Swamp Thing as a franchise, I would be viewing it as a simple, clean, gothic horror movie about this monster. I'm just doing my own thing with this, just a standalone. How are we feeling about this kind of just being a standalone, seemingly one-off story, just like in this DC universe?
I think that's the approach that you should be taking with it. I think the issue a lot of times is how can this connect to the wider universe? And there's never enough like just focusing on the film as a standalone piece of media and just focusing on that and nothing else. I think that that's actually a really good approach to be taking here, especially for a character like Swamp Thing, that while he could tie into the rest of the DCU if we were going to go down like a Justice League Dark route, but I feel like it also makes a lot of sense to kind of have him off in his own little section of the DCU, just make it just like he said, a simple horror film.
100% agree. I think all like cinematic universes should go in with this mindset. I think in that first chapter, a big part of it is like establishing your brand, establishing what these projects are, just on these in these different parts of the DCU. This isn't a project where I want Superman to show up or like Batman to come in and be like, all right, let's fight this monster. That's not kind of what I wanted from this movie. And again, I think, if you look back at like the MCU, like Phase 1 was very on its own, very kind of simple with your Iron Man 2s and your Captain Americas, and obviously there was set up for like what the next thing was, but a lot of those were smaller type stories. The like Arrowverse, like Arrow Season 1, Arrow Season 2 was very on its own, and it could build onto those larger stories, which we obviously loved later on. I would still love like a Constantine or something in here if that fit his vision and his story, but we'll see. Yeah. And with that being said, I think, we actually have a big one right here. So Superman and Lois. So this news actually came out while me, Taz, and a bunch of other creators were streaming over on Eric Reloaded's channel. What was it, about a week ago by this point? Yeah. It was awesome. Had a great time. Those 15 minutes I was there. It was really cool seeing Taz, with all these other content creators. It was a fun time. Yeah. But the CW, obviously, Superman Lois, was picked up last week. We talked about that a good bit. But it seems like all the series regulars are gone, at least as series regulars. The only remaining series regulars are our main four: Clark, Lois, Jonathan, Jordan, and Lex Luthor, everyone's favorite bearded bastard. How are you feeling? Are you hyped that all these people are losing their jobs?
No, I mean, I was expecting this, unfortunately, when they gave us that renewal and they were like, hey, we're gonna have to pull the budget back a little bit, we're gonna have to save some money in certain areas, and it made sense that the supporting cast would unfortunately be the casualty here. And it seems like in a lot of ways they've decided to like say, hey, we're going to trade this supporting cast that we had for these past 3 seasons and trade them out for this mega big bad with Lex Luthor. And I think that that's maybe some of the behind the scenes there with it as well, because I know licensing characters and stuff can be very expensive, and especially when you're running a Superman show, if you want to use like the big bad, which is Lex Luthor, I'm sure that's going to, cost a lot on the back end.
No, I understand why we are doing this, as frustrating as it is. Trying to look at how do we still make the show as similar as people loved it. And I think, when you have to look at, okay, what do people like? Is it Kyle? Is it Lana? Is it Sam? Or do people love those really cool fight scenes, those beautiful, like, well-made shots and good dialogue and all that stuff? I get it. Although I think it's going to be very jarring, because I think this cast is such a massive part of the show and what the show is. And I think season 4 is either going to be one of its best, one of the best that the show has had to offer, or it's going to be the worst. I could see it, season 4, just kind of dropping the ball and losing what this show is. Because one thing I do really love about Superman and Lois is how he affects the world and the people around him. And I think a big part of that, as much as people I don't think realize, a big part of that is Lana and Sam and the like Irons and Kyles and Sarah, and seeing how their lives are affected by the world that he saves, I guess. And that's one of the things that drew me in, especially in season 1. I think they did an expert job at that. And I loved, I think we haven't seen much of it this season or even season 2, but a big part of my favorite thing in season 1 was him like going to like China and just saving, like a city full of people, or any of that kind of stuff. And I assume because of budget, that's also going away. So it's an interesting one. Chosen, do you have any opinions on this?
Honestly, I'm kind of upset that Steel is gone. We're not getting Steel next season. And yeah, I'm just upset. I'm upset, honestly. Can I just say how upset I am right now?
Sure, go ahead.
Literally,
let it out.
Unlike the Flash's supporting cast, unlike them, this supporting cast right here is actually way better if you think about it. Some of these characters I actually care for, of course, not Sarah. I'm not gonna talk about Sarah. She's not a good character. But all the other characters, I'm like, wow, why did they have to leave? Even Kyle, honestly, Kyle is a cool character. But yeah,
I honestly, I was thinking about it like earlier. Like, imagine if this happened during like the Flash season 3. Like, imagine we lost like Caitlin and Wells and Joe and like Cisco like all at once. Like, I cannot imagine the like freak show I think that we would all have as fans.
Yo,
well,
what's way crazier? What if in season 4 we got Ralph, but then in season 5 he leaves? Imagine that. That would piss people off if you think about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just interesting how the supporting cast of Superman and Lois obviously was kind of like the window into the normal day-to-day life of just regular people in this world, and kind of showed you why Superman was doing what he was doing. He's showing you like he puts his life out on the line so that these people can live normal lives, and that was kind of like our window into the less fantastical, spectacular side of the show, while obviously the Kent family was a lot more so invested in that like Superman side of things. But it just gave us a very nice window into that sort of other dynamic of living, I guess, and just kind of a window into the people of Smallville. But it's going to be interesting for sure in season 4. But again, it seems like the writing was kind of on the wall for a while, and also the fact that there have been a lot of rumors that we're going to be moving out of Smallville come season 4 anyway. Again, it's sad, but it's unfortunately not very surprising.
You know what? Yeah. I will say, as much as this is sad, the one thing I'm actually really excited to see is like how interesting it will be to see like Lex versus Superman, Lois, the two sons. Like, it'll be very interesting if you think about it. And then Lex, I don't know what Lex is gonna do next season, but it's gonna be crazy. I can tell.
Yeah, it seems like it's gonna be a lot more of a personal story for sure.
Yeah.
And also the fact that you said it's gonna end on a cliffhanger. Is the cliffhanger the death of Superman?
It could be. I do, right before we do move on here, I do just kind of want to go through this cast list a little bit and kind of go off what we've kind of been hearing, is happening with each of these cast members. Sam, I think we talked a little bit last week. He's not returning. Doesn't seem at all for season 4, which is very frustrating. Seemingly goes for Lana. Obviously, things could change, but it seems like she is out completely. Kyle and Sarah seems like is going to be a reoccurring role, which these are, at least Kyle was one where like, oh yeah, you can write this man out and it would change almost nothing. But it seems like he's sticking around for multiple episodes. John Henry Irons, it seems like he made a funny tweet about I need work, or I need a job or something. So again, no actual word I haven't seen, but it seems like he might also just be out. Same with Natalie, haven't heard anything either way. Chrissy, we haven't heard anything, but she's one I would assume that we probably don't see, at least not very much in this final season. Is there anyone I'm missing? I think that might be everybody.
I think so.
Unless you count Sophie, but I actually heard Sophie's going to be a series regular. Just kidding.
That they actually spent all their money getting her back as a series regular, so they couldn't afford everybody else, unfortunately. That's actually the breaking story.
You mentioned one character, Natalie.
Mm-hmm.
I find it funny how she wasn't in this episode.
Natalie and John haven't done much this season. They really
been in this episode. Don't you agree? Like, if they're not gonna be next season, they should have been this episode.
Yeah, it's sad that I think
they would have known
there'll be a next week's episode.
And they better end their characters right, because I'm gonna be pissed. You know?
Yeah, I mean they wouldn't have known any of this when they filmed it, I don't think.
Right.
I mean, me and you, Taz, have talked a lot about how we think that there was clearly a missing storyline with John and Nat that was probably cut.
Because they had a bigger story last season, right?
Much, yeah.
Yeah.
They are like a reoccurring this season. Like they really have. Like those two characters could work in like a reoccurring role, but
yeah. Why are you guys using Sarah, Jordan, Kyle, and all these other characters, but not these two? Come on.
It could just be they couldn't. Like when it comes to like pilot season and stuff like that, sometimes it's a much better job if you can like leave the show and hopefully get another job than stay on for like 2-3 episodes, you know? So I would think that's maybe what's happening with Sam currently, is that like he didn't just want to stick around for like 2 episodes. But like Kyle was like, yeah, that's fine. I could do 2 or 3 or, you know, whatever. I don't know.
I'm almost thinking like in a perfect world, right? If we had that Diggle storyline that was supposedly going to happen this season with John Henry Irons and John Diggle and everything like that, and if just in like another universe, if Justice U actually happened, I almost feel like it wouldn't be too far of a stretch to say John Henry Irons and Natalie go over to Justice U.
Yeah,
like that could have worked even.
I could have seen that as well. Yeah, but yeah, that's another world that we can't live in, I guess. So with all of that being said, I think it's time we jump into our discussion for Superman and Lois. Alrighty, so this has been a big episode. This feels like the episode we've been kind of waiting for all season. It's been the big Lex Luthor episode. He's here. We beat Bruno Mannheim, it seems like, and we're heading into these final 2 episodes of the season, which I must say, this season's gone fairly fast, man. It really has for me. It feels like we just kind of got started, but like next week's the finale. It's here.
Can I just say something real quick before we even start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it just me, or does this feel like another, like, you know how Eric Wallace does graphic novels? Is it just me, or does this feel like a new graphic novel?
It feels like an epilogue to the season. That's kind of the best way to think about it.
Yeah, because Bruno is done, right? He's gone now.
I think so, yeah.
We got another villain, Lex Luthor, and Zombie Bizarro, who goes nuts, you know, eating stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, I think kind of right off the bat, this episode for me did feel very unjointed with the rest of the season. And I'm not saying that's automatically a bad thing. I think that can work. But I do think it does feel like very like, oh, okay, we're doing something different now. This is completely separate for the rest of the season. And you know, I think we talked a little about this last week, Taz, but I do kind of wish there was a better, transition point from Bruno to Lex, because it did feel like, all right, we're done here. Here's Lex. Here we go.
Yeah,
like
they did wrap that up very quick.
They could have at least could have mentioned Bruno somehow in the beginning, and then.
Well, they did a little bit.
Yeah, Lex mentioned Bruno, but I don't know. I guess I wanted more of like I don't know how you do it, but I think I wanted more of like a connection between Bruno and Lex. Like if Bruno breaks Lex out, or Lex comes in and kills Pia, or I was kind of expecting one of those moments to be like, oh, okay, he is part of this overarching story, not like season finale, 2 episodes of Lex. Like, I don't know. That's kind of where
You know what? They could have been better if so Pia died, right? She died, right? So
yes,
maybe Lex is like, he finds out that she's dead, and he's like, now it's time for me. It's time for me to get out, because I think he waited until the right time, which is right now, because she's dead and Bruno's done. So he's like, this is the right time to get out and go after Clark, Lois, and everyone.
Well, it did. Well, see, I was kind of expecting him to be like brewing his plan, and I was kind of going in expecting like, oh, he went to jail on purpose. But it seems like it was all an accident. At least like thus far, it seems like he really didn't mean to go to prison. He's just been stuck in prison.
He had to make the best of a bad situation.
Which is very interesting. You know what? Let's just kind of like jump into the whole Lex thing, because I think that's kind of what everyone kind of wants to talk about, and then we can move backwards into the episode. How's everyone feeling about Michael Cudlitz?
He's great.
He's great. Lex Luthor.
He's great. I don't care what anyone thinks. Like when that one part where Clark was telling him to stop, he was like, "Shut your mouth." I'm like, "Yo, okay." I was like, I feel his rage and anger. I was like, "Yep, that's Lex right there."
Yeah, he's very intimidating. I felt that going into it, that he was going to be a very like imposing threat, and he definitely is. He's definitely not just a kind of like a mental threat, but also a physical threat as well, and that's something that we haven't seen very much with the different interpretations of Lex, but he's definitely a very threatening character.
Hot take. I know it's just one episode, but he's already the best villain in the show. That's a hot take right there.
Interesting. I could see that.
He has potential. He has potential.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the other villains are bad. Like Morgan Edge is the second best villain. He's definitely the second. And then the third best is Bruno. I know he's already an anti-hero and stuff, but he's still a villain. And then the fourth one is Allie. No one cares about Allie. Yeah. But yeah.
I will say I think this is a very different Lex Luthor than I think any of us are really used to. I definitely they definitely are prioritizing the physical part of who Lex Luthor is, and I like that choice a lot, because again, like when it comes to Lex and Jokers, like you have so many of them. There are so many of them. You have to mix it up. And I do just love how different each of these like TV ones are, at least like Michael Rosenbaum to John Cryer to Titans. I don't even know that actor's name. But you know, they all feel so drastically different and unique, and my light shut off for some reason. And I will say I do think I need a little bit more time with them.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, you know, as much as I did like him, I was like, okay, I want to see more from what this character is capable of. Because, you know, just this episode alone, he if you didn't know anything about Lex Luthor or DC Comics or these characters, it's just like, oh, he's this crazy criminal inmate. You know, he's not this like criminal mastermind who can kill Superman. So I'll be very curious, you know, within I think next week and whatever he has planned with Bizarro, kind of what's in store for this character.
Yeah, it's definitely a very strong introduction, and I think if they continue this momentum, I will feel a little bit better about the direction that they're going for season 4 with, you know, putting so much stake in him as the big bad. But I think they definitely laid the groundwork very well in this episode, and I think it lived up to everything that original teaser was presenting to us, and I'm very excited to see where this Lex goes in this final episode for the season, and obviously continuing into season 4.
You know, yeah. Can I just say something real quick? I'm actually kind of upset right now. You know why I'm upset? They killed off one character, even though he was barely in the episode. They killed one of the characters. You know that character? I think it's Lex
Otis, right?
Why would they kill him off? What was the point?
To show just how unhinged Bizarro is.
Like, they should not kill him off though. I don't like that. Like, Bizarro, why are you doing this now? Like, now I hope Bizarro loses, because that dude pissed me
off. Justin, and scrolling back into chat a little bit, I kind of wanted to bring these up once it was kind of on topic. But after watching this week's episode, you understand the choice of not calling John Cryer to reprise the role of Lex Luthor. I mean, yeah, that's something that we've all. I think we kind of said that from the start. Not to say that John Cryer couldn't play Lex in the show, but his Lex on Supergirl, and then, you know, Supergirl and Superman Lois are very different shows tonally, right? And I think John Cryer was casted for kind of the tone of what Supergirl was going for. And I think, especially here, like, I cannot, as much as he's good at his like yelling, there is something that is very powerful and like inmate like, I guess, of this new Lex Luthor.
Yeah, I don't think John Cryer could pull off the physicality that we're getting from Michael Cudlitz. Like, while he was a good interpretation of Lex for Supergirl, I think the fact, again, that it's very separate, it's on its own Earth, we're trying to establish our own thing here, I think it was a very good call to, recast here and go with somebody a little bit different.
Correct me if I'm wrong. They like the first time we saw Lex over there as well, he was also in prison, right?
I believe so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
He did not look like he was in prison for like 10 years.
No, he was just like what, playing chess and just chilling. Lex had to claw his way up. Go ahead.
You know how we saw Lex in prison? He kind of gave me that Diaz vibes in prison too.
A little bit,
Diaz, yeah. When we saw Diaz in prison, Earl, I think 707. I'm assuming. Yeah, 707. Yeah, he kind of gave me that vibe because he's acting like Diaz, sort of, where he's like the boss in the prison, like the boss of the prison, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I was like, wow, because I noticed it when he was at the end of the episode. I was like, okay, he's acting like Diaz now.
He's very like Kingpin like, which I like. I can really get down with like a very like, I don't know, like mob boss type Lex Luthor. Although I will say I do hope we see the like smart side of that as well, because I think, in like movies and shows, it's very easy to be like, all right, you have your smart characters and you have your tough characters, and I think it's cool. Maybe you can have like this really smart buff guy as well, which could be really fun.
I mean, I think they showed his intelligence quite a bit in this episode, with just how quickly he took over the prison and how he very easily kind of just found ways to manipulate everybody and figure out how to get to certain people certain ways. And especially the scene with him and the warden where he was like, I'm going to give you a phone number. He's like, this is my home number. What are you doing, Lex? And like, bro's just playing like 4-dimensional chess right there.
Sure. That is very fair. I did really also like the scene where he's just like sitting on that like inmate.
Oh yeah, he's like, let me adjust my chair. Oh god.
It was so brutal.
I think the most brutal Lex for sure.
Oh, that's very possible, yeah. Justin goes on to say, DCTV proving once again that its version of Lex Luthor outdoes the movie versions. It is crazy that we've kind of done this like 4 times in a row now. Where, I know a lot of people didn't like the like Titans Lex, but I thought he was relatively good. I mean, like Michael Rosenbaum, and John Cryer, and
I'll be right back.
Go ahead. All these different, 4 times now. It feels like they've like, this is Lex. I hope the like DCU can give us a solid movie Lex.
Yeah. It just it made me think of the Michael Rosenbaum podcast again with James Gunn. He was like, "You were a great Lex, but not right for my movie." And
yeah.
I don't know what version of Lex they're going for, but I'll definitely be intrigued to see if he can live up to these last couple of interpretations.
The Stranger says, do you think next episode is the death of Superman, and that's why everyone moves to Metropolis? We've talked about this obviously quite a lot. But do you think we're actually doing it?
I mean, I think there's definitely a chance that we do Death of Superman, but from this episode, I almost found another reason why they could end up moving to Metropolis, and that's the fact that Jordan's being very careless with showing off his powers, and people are getting very close, and they know that there's this new superhero in Smallville, so they might end up having to leave Smallville just to kind of protect their identities a little bit and just kind of let the heat die down, I guess, on that front.
It kind of hit me yesterday where I was thinking, if we do Death of Superman and he dies next episode, Lois will have no one to protect her from Lex, and I wonder if she has to go undercover for Lex doesn't like kill her and like the family and stuff, and that's why they move and they're away from everyone because they can't they are in active danger without Superman.
Maybe.
Which I mean, I guess you could.
Wait, what's it called? Can't Jordan protect her because he has powers?
I mean, true, but if he was able to kill Superman, he could definitly kill Jordan.
Yeah. He stands no chance at that point.
You see, I think that's what they're setting up. They're gonna move. That's what I'm thinking. It's the safe way possible, right? Because if Superman's dead, what are they gonna do, right? They have to move. And then when Superman comes back next season, which possibly, and then I don't know when would he come back though? That's the question.
No later than like episode 3, especially since it's gonna only be 10 episodes. I would say they don't keep him dead for longer than 3 episodes, but I think we find out that he's not dead in episode 1 if they do Death of Superman.
Imagine this, okay? So we see Lois confronting Lex right next season. This is just imagination, right? So he's about to kill her, but then Superman comes in and saves her, and then Lex is like, "How are you alive?" And he gets pissed off. That's how I think he's gonna come back.
Maybe I'm very curious because I thought there was a real chance we could have done the Reign of Superman next season, but I think
right now that we're not having
John Henry
without
Irons,
John Henry, we're not having
Eradicator.
They have to
probably
do
not coming
something else
back.
then, right? They have to do something else. They can't do that.
Or they would have to do it on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
With just Jordan becoming full-fledged Superboy and kind of like kicking his ego to
Oh my god, Lance, stop, Lance. Look what Lance in the chat.
I'm scrolling down the chat here. I'm trying to catch up with chat a little bit. Lex was fantastic. Oh yeah, we already said that. He's my new favorite Lex. I'm very glad to hear that. Very glad people are liking Lex. When he said 17 years when he said 17 years of my life be gone, my daughter won't even talk to me. I got chills. That was fantastic. Yeah, no, I think he definitely has that presence that I love from so many Lex Luthors. I kind of got that same thing with John Cryer when he first appeared, where like he is not the man of tomorrow. I am. I like that scene gives me chills every time as well. Lance in the chat. All hail Prince Lance. How's it going, buddy? Everyone's decided Lance.
Senor Lance. Who is that actually? I don't know who that is.
No, he was dying because he was coming out of the helicopter to help. I thought he was in prison though, wasn't he?
No,
he was sick.
No, he definitely No, he was in his mansion.
Was
I believe.
He?
Yeah.
Oh, the stranger,
yeah. So
right?
And then the prison was later. Now that is correct.
Yeah, the stranger. Okay. I could see that happening actually. Like she's gonna marry that person. He said something. The stranger just said something funny. That's why I was like, okay.
Lance says I was almost Lex. Well, good luck cutting your hair, buddy.
Yeah.
Lance,
would you have shaved your head for it?
No, Lance, you need to do it, dude. Okay, you need to do it and be like Lex. Okay, act like Lex. In his next stream, he should be like Lex.
Clark dies and Lois marries Bizarro.
But what if Bizarro eats her? Bizarro's gonna eat her though.
That does. I mean, how are we feeling about zombie Bizarro? Like a much more zombified than we've seen previously.
The thing is, he's crazy, but does he still care about Lois? That's the question. Because he's all angry. He's like, oh, I'm gonna eat some people, kill some people. But does he care about Lois? That's the question. Now we all are questioning because right now he's angry, right? Because what happened last season and what's happening now. But does he care about Lois?
Maybe. I mean, I would assume somewhere down deep he has his old self in there, very superhero style. He has to fight for love, like Superman does.
I'm actually starting to think that maybe here's what I think is gonna happen. So I think Clark is gonna fight Bizarro, but then Clark tries to bring back Bizarro, like his old mind, and it works. But then Lex kills Bizarro. That's what I think is gonna happen, which pisses off Clark, and then Clark is gonna fight Lex, but then Lex kills Clark, and that's how the whole death of Superman is gonna happen.
Maybe.
So Lex is gonna get a double Kryptonian kill.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because there's no way Lex is actually gonna work with Bizarro. There's no way. We all know Lex so well. He's just gonna betray Bizarro after that.
Oh yeah, he's definitely in it for something.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely looking at the thing we were talking about, where he turns him into something. If that's a doomsday, if that's a cancer, if that's an apocalypse, I don't know, what that ultimately is, but it seems like from things we've heard, how the ending turns out, it seems like he turns into something. Stranger says Clark dies and Lois marries Ryan Wilder.
Oh, but the thing is, the Stranger, Lance is gonna be mad about that though. If you know what I mean. Lance is gonna be pissed off. He's like, "Why are we doing this?" Oh, you know what? Actually, Barry, what have you done this time?
Already, I want to dive into I didn't write very much notes this week. I do apologize. I kind of was just so into this episode, I guess. So obviously a big part of this episode was the like Lex Luthor stuff, and this felt like a very big Lex Luthor focused episode, and kind of how these worlds collided. A lot of this was about Clark and Lois trying to figure out what to do with Lex. Is he out? Is he all this kind of fun stuff surrounding Lex Luthor? How did we feel about how, I guess, the Kents were really focusing on Lex Luthor this week?
I think it was a good direction. Again, it felt very much like an epilogue to the season. It was kind of like an extra story kind of tacked on here after the Bruno Mannheim stuff has been wrapped up to kind of push us in this direction that we're going to be going in for season 4. I liked how it was kind of this slow buildup of Lex gets out of prison right at the beginning of the episode, but we get some of his backstory as he's getting closer and closer to his destination. And I thought it was great that the destination ended up being the Kent farm. And he had he was a man on a mission, and he was there to kind of like lay his threats out, and he seemed very threatening while doing so. But I think it was a great setup for Lex once again, and especially with his badass guitar theme. That was pretty cool as well. But yeah, he's just a very physically imposing threat, and something that the Kent family cannot take too lightly.
Yo, I'm gonna come back. I'll rejoin the stream in a couple minutes. I'll be right back.
Alrighty. No. I think, like when it comes to showing Lex on screen, again, you have to do it in a way that doesn't feel like all these versions we've seen before. And I think they do a pretty good job about it. I think, throughout the episode, I was trying to figure out what I was feeling about this character, and if I was vibing with it. Of course, he did a great job. And I think it is just going to be a version. I'm like, all right, I have to see how I grow on this character. And, going to next episode, and obviously the final season, how Lex is in there, and what his plan is, and how his back and forth is with Clark and Lois. And I'm very excited for all of that. And he wants Lois to retire, which I wasn't like a shocking twist, but I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like, he doesn't want her dead. She wants her to retire, which I think is maybe even worse for Lois, because that's what Lois loves the most. Like, that's her passion. So I thought that was a really kind of nice twist there.
Yeah, I did as well, and it was a very Lex style threat as well. I mean, it just felt like something that Lex Luthor would do. I found it also very interesting how he didn't really show any signs of knowing that Clark was Superman. And I feel like that's something that a Lex like this, especially one that spent the better part of 20 years in prison, would have deduced by this time. Like, he didn't seem fazed by, Clark kind of stepping in there, and, he just told him off. So I don't know if he knows it and he just doesn't care, or that's something that he'll find out after working with Bizarro. I do find it very interesting that all of these people that have Bizarro's body in their possession don't look at him and go like, that kind of looks like that Clark Kent guy.
Yeah. Oh, I kind of love it. I kind of love how stupid it is. I kind of got the vibe, and obviously Clark and Lex have fought before, but it kind of seems like they don't have as rich of a history, it seems, as maybe a lot of Clark, Superman and Lex's have. Like, doesn't seem like they've been fighting for 20 years, kind of like as I was expecting.
And Lois is almost more Lex is more so almost Lois's villain than Superman's villain at this point. But I think what happens in this final episode and what happens in season 4 will truly make Lex an enemy of Superman as well.
Sure. Yeah, no, sure. And I was kind of just expecting Lex and Superman have fought. Yeah, like, this is an old Superman. Like, this is one of the oldest we've seen Supermans on screen. So I kind of just expected they've been fighting for 30 years, and they're like arch enemies, and it doesn't seem like we're there yet, which I think season 4 will do. I think, that like rivalry will be put over the top here, I guess.
Right. And it is definitely an interesting approach, putting Lex in prison so early on in Superman's career and having him be kind of a non-factor for the last 17 years. But he's obviously going to show, like, hey, I am I am your big bad.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the Jordan and Sarah stuff a little bit.
Your favorite part of the episode?
Oh yeah, I loved it. I think this was kind of the stuff that dragged. Honestly, I would say it kind of dragged this back half down for me. As I love the show so much. I think it's great, but I do think it's just a little like, all right, we're doing this now. So Jordan and Jonathan, or Sarah, have been doing their back and forth X thing where Jordan's upset at Sarah because they're not a couple anymore, and Sarah's just trying to move on and figure out what she's doing with her life, and she's got a job, and there's a big story this week about Jordan and his powers and saving people, and he goes in and he's bragging to all these kids about how he saved, or he didn't save people, but like building up this hero that he could be one of us, or all that kind of fun stuff.
Oh, that guy that saved you, he must have been pretty cool.
I bet he was super handsome and good looking, and
he had these
great
really
teeth.
cool goggles. Like
Yeah.
I bet he got them from his super awesome grandpa or something. Not that I would know.
What did you think about this whole storyline? Were you a fan?
Again, it's more of the same that we've gotten for the last however many episodes at this point now. It seems like a pointless back and forth just squabble between these two characters that just really need to separate themselves from each other, and just kind of it's like when you're fighting with your brother and you just gotta have to, like, I go to my room, you go to your room, and we'll just kind of like we'll figure it out some other time. Like, just you go do your life, you go do your thing over here, and just like don't interfere with it, because it seems like every time these two are in the same vicinity, just like somebody finds an issue with something.
Yeah, I think I think we're building to a larger story for Jonathan that we just don't see yet. Like, I think there is a reason why they have been writing Jordan in such a way, because with how this episode ends, and we can always talk about that, how him and Clark get into like a big fight, and like Jordan like smacks Clark's hand away, I think, and this felt like a big moment for Jordan.
Right,
and there's a scene I actually thought was kind of good, where he's just kind of like, I knew I shouldn't have, but I just didn't care. Like, I don't care anymore. And that felt like a big breaking point for his character going into this final episode, and possibly next season as well.
Yeah, it definitely made me think of the Adrian Chase and Oliver scene slightly. He was like, "You don't kill because you have to, Oliver. Why? Why did you do it?" "I wanted to, and I liked it." Like, that was pretty much Jordan's perspective on that. He's like, I just wanted to hang around and get some credit for what I was doing.
Sure.
So, I mean, you can't blame him for that, because I feel like if any of us got superpowers at such a young age, you'd want to kind of like show off to your friends. You'd want to show off to the world and kind of get credit for it. But I think a big part of, obviously, this power, very Spider-Man style, is also the responsibility that comes with it.
Yes.
And I think that's the point that Clark is trying to obviously get across to Jordan about his powers, but he's just not having it. He's just not having it.
Yeah, no. I think that, obviously makes sense. I can't even say that I wouldn't be doing similar things if I had superpowers at, 15, 16. But it is such a massive part of so many heroes' like journeys, where if you're a young Clark, or if you're a Spider-Man, or if you're like a whatever it may be, there's so many parts of these stories where like you want to be rich and get money, but like you find out you can't because you have to do the right thing. That's such a superhero trope in a superhero story. And Jordan is just not getting it thus far. He just wants to be a hero. He wants the same. He wants to have the fame, similar to, honestly, I wonder if this is a parallel, similar to like Bizarro Superman, where he wanted the fame, he wanted the glory, he wanted to be that hero. So I wonder if like Bizarro next week, if there could be like a nice little parallel between those two characters, that could be kind of cool.
Yeah, and I almost feel like it just, unfortunately, it's going to take some sort of tragedy to push Jordan in the proper direction, which once again brings us to Death of Superman. And I feel like they might end up doing it on a much smaller scale. We might not get the full reign of the Supermen, but we might have to have Jordan do a lot of growing up in that gap between season 3 and season 4. And I think that that's also a really good spot to put it as well, just because I feel like we're going to have a much larger hiatus than normal in between these seasons as well, just because of all the shakeups happening, the writer's strike, all of that. It seems very fitting that that would happen. So I feel like if we are going down the route of the death of Superman, then all of this, like, very much so ego-driven Jordan storyline makes a lot of sense.
No. I mean, I think I'm curious, like, what the end game for Jordan ultimately is / was, because I would assume maybe they planned a 5-6 season plan, but if next season is the final season, the whole Superboy story might need to get jet started going into next season. I could see them being like, all right, he's Superboy now, here he is. And, that might explain why you need more money this season too. Like, if you have 2 supers kind of going around saving people,
right,
you might need more of a budget there as well. And, you also have Lex, who I assume is going to have, like, suits and stuff like that.
I'd hope we see a version of the Lexo suit at some point.
Oh, I think we have to. I think if Lex is going to be our ultimate threat, we need like powered Lex or something.
that would be great. I want to see just like big old imposing powerful Lex in a big old green kryptonite suit.
I talked about it. I think we talked about it over on Twitter earlier, but I was wondering, with Lex being here, with Jordan seeming like he could possibly go down, maybe not a villain route, but like maybe a not so goody two shoes route,
like an anti-hero-ish
route.
Yeah.
Do we think there's any chance we have Jordan pair up with Lex next season? Almost like this like father figure type thing.
I don't know, especially if Lex kills his dad. I don't think he'd side with him. That would be
new father now, kid.
That would be very dark and very twisted. I don't think that this show is going to go that far.
Sure.
But there's definitely a possibility that at some point they will be at odds, especially even if they do the death of Superman and Jordan has had to do all of this growing up very quickly. There's always that possibility once Clark comes back that he's like, hey, let me take over, let me, get back to this. And he'll be like, hey, Dad, I've been holding down the fort for the last like 6 months to a year while you've been dead and recharging. Like, let me handle this. So there could be some conflict there, which would definitely be very interesting.
Sure. Yeah, no. I could see a world very like Arrow season 6 where it's like, I'm Green Arrow now. Get out of here. I don't want to give the label back. I could definitely see that being in a world. I want to talk about the Jonathan and Kyle stuff really quickly here. This kind of felt like I don't want to say a throwaway story, but this kind of felt like all right, we need both of these characters to do something here.
Yeah.
Did you like the storyline at all?
I mean, it was a nice little break, I guess, from the giant tornado running through the city, but I didn't think too much of it, but it was just a nice little side story to give both of them a little bit more progression and kind of put them on a very similar playing field, I guess, is really the best way to put it.
I think it was a nice adjustment to Kyle and kind of giving him something to do after learning about Clark. And I think this is kind of what I actually wanted from both Kyle and Jonathan this season, was to pair those two together and have that be, instead of this like kind of this weird storyline that we gave with Kyle this season about with like Lana and all that stuff. Like I would have loved if we focused, like, pair those two up, these characters who don't often have a lot to do, pair them up together and let that fly, I guess. Chosen, just welcome back. We were just talking about Jonathan and Kyle this week. What did you think of that storyline?
I thought it was pretty okay. I actually enjoyed it. It wasn't that bad, actually, if you think about it, compared to other storylines we have. Like that terrible storyline between Jordan and Sarah.
Yeah, we were just talking about that, how it feels very a very uncomfortable storyline that is obviously leading into something else for Jordan in these final episodes of the show. But I think we pretty much covered most of Super and Lois stuff. Chosen, is there anything that you really wanted to add before we kind of moved on to some other topics?
Not really. Honestly, I enjoyed this episode. I know you had a different take on this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some people in Twitter think this episode is boring, if you know what I mean, Darren. But yeah, I enjoyed this episode. If I would give like a rating, I would give like an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. It's pretty good actually, if you think about it. But yeah, that's
very
it.
nice. Yeah. I don't hate this episode or anything. I don't think it's awful or anything.
Yeah.
I do think it is one of my least favorite of the season, just because I think it's a transitional episode. There is just a lot of just setting up to what next episode is. Of course, I loved everything with Lex. I loved everything with like Superman and Lois, obviously. But I do think, some of those side characters, it's like, all right, let's kind of build it up. Let's go into next week. Which again, those episodes are important every once in a while. But yeah, if Taz, you have any kind of final thoughts on this, just this overall episode?
Yeah, I think you kind of hit it right there. Was that it's very much so a bridging episode, and I've said this a bajillion times this stream already, but it feels like we're in the like season 3 epilogue, almost like we're in season 3.5, just kind of like bridging the gap between the Bruno story and the full Lex story that we're going to be getting next season.
Absolutely, I agree. I'm very excited and nervous and curious kind of how we end off the season. And,
yeah, I'm definitely in a skeptical spot, I guess you could say, as far as where we're going to be going next season. Like, there's a possibility that it could be a lot more focused, and it could be, while unfortunate as it is that we're losing a big chunk of the series regular cast, it might be a good idea to just focus on the main storyline, and that is it. But also we could feel like a big element is missing, just as we did this season, with, not having as much John Henry Irons, not having as much Natalie Irons, not having as much Diggle, not having any Diggle. So.
Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah.
So, last year we had The Flash Season 8, right? And Superman Lois Season 2, I'm assuming? Yeah. The funny part about this is that I enjoy the Flash Season 8 finale more than Superman Lois Season 2 finale. But then now it's switched because Superman Lois Season 3 finale is probably going to be better than the Flash Season 9 finale, if you know what I mean. It's like reverse if you think about it, which is kind of funny. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think it also kind of goes to show as well, it's very hard to do a series finale. It's much easier to do season finales because you can have big cliffhangers to set up for what's coming next. With the series finale, you have to literally wrap everything up and then kind of, leave it as... Depending on the type of show, like The Flash did, you had to leave it in kind of like a nice, hopeful ending and kind of say, oh, and the story continues type of thing.
But the thing is, what if The Flash ended on Season 8 and Season 9 got canceled?
Then that would have been an even worse finale.
Even though it was pretty decent for the most part, I feel like it would still be worse because we need a proper ending, because how can you end the show with, oh, there's going to be a new Avatar and shows the blue crystal, but then we don't know what's going to happen next.
Apparently, Season 8, they had 2 different ones, like 2 different versions.
Yeah,
so I
do
think
we probably wouldn't have seen that crystal if that was it.
Yeah.
Maybe it would have ended with Barry talking to Iris in the apartment, but then after that, Barry does his like final run after that.
Yeah,
Maybe
we could have
that's
gotten
how they
something
can
like
the
that.
show. If they had Season 8 as the final.
Yeah, I think I definitely think it would have been. I think Season 8 as a whole, I probably would have liked as a final season. Like I think there's a lot in there that feels final season-ish. But I am ultimately glad we still got Season 9. Like I do think there are things in there that I'm like, all right, I appreciate that we had this.
The one thing I would switch if Season 8 was the final season and if we got that final episode, I would switch it where, like, the Matt Lecter version, he doesn't die. Instead, he turns evil. And then he's the final villain of the final episode. That's one thing I would switch.
I think Season 8 really could have worked. Like I think you cut off that final like middle like Thawne arc there.
Yeah, like I feel like they shouldn't have killed off Matt Lecter's Thawne. I feel like that was a dumb thing to do, because why would you bring him back just to kill him off because he's a good guy and stuff, you know? And there was no point in that. I feel like what they could have done instead is make him evil. Like give him back his memories and make him evil again. Like maybe the negative Speed Force is like, hey, Eobard, Barry was your enemy. He was your rival. And then that's how they set up his arc for maybe season 9 still happens, right? And then that's how you set up his arc for season 9. And he could be the final villain. Yeah.
Maybe. Alrighty. So with that being said, I do want to transition a little bit into Gotham Knights. I know Chosen Vader.
Created.
Oh, I know. Chosen Vader, I know you're not a huge fan of Gotham Knights. You're welcome to stay if you want to. But I know you're not a huge fan of it. So if you want to, you can dip. Whatever floats your boat. All right. Taz, you're our Gotham Knights. Our Gotham Knights guy. I'll let you just kind of take it away. Start off our little conversation here.
Once it kicks in. All right. As the resident Gotham Knights expert, put on the glasses. Now, I really enjoyed this episode. I think it once again proves how this show has been improving week to week and is just getting stronger and stronger. And this is really the big culmination episode. This is the one where everything is kind of laid out on the table. We're done with our investigation. We're done with the mystery. And it's time to actually, get to work. It's time to unmask the court. And this is kind of what the entire season has really been leading to. Like, we have the Gotham Knights in full... I mean, as close as we're going to be getting to full, like, vigilante attire. Everybody has their leather jackets and their corresponding colors. Like, I thought that was pretty nice. Like, they gave Stephanie the little, like, the purple under jacket, so that was kind of like, like, spoiler. Harper had the blue, and, Cullen had some red, so they were all basically, like, Power Rangered up and everything. But I thought it was nice to finally see them kind of, like, come together fully as a team and everything like that, and really tackle the court and go after them, like, head on.
Yes.
What about you?
No, I really enjoyed this episode. I think the first half for me, I found myself very tuning out, and not because it was bad. It was a great episode, but I do think the fact that it was canceled and there's that part of my brain that's like, all right, how invested do I want to get into these final 2 episodes where it's just like, we're not getting in season 2. That kind of sucks. But I think the, like, stuff that we got in this back half and the way these characters have been written and just the overall story, I think the ending had me on the edge of my seat. Like, there are so many moments I'm like, what is happening? This is so good. Like, what? This is insane.
Yeah. You had told me that the back half of this episode got crazy, and I was not prepared. Like, this thing just, like, one thing after another, reveal after reveal. Like, this thing was just going crazy this week.
No, I mean, I think just like the twists and how it was ultimately, like, written, it was a good show. Like, this was just a really well written episode, and like I wouldn't have like thought of that, like, kind of going into the show, that we would have, like, episodes and writing like this, which is a joy. I love when like underdogs can be like, haha, you were wrong, sucker. This is like, a good show.
I'd like to show anybody who has not liked this show this episode and say, tell me that you don't like the show after watching this episode.
Sure.
Like, it's one of those episodes for sure. And again, there's just so much to like here. Again, so many reveals. A lot of our theories came true. We've been speculating for weeks. I've been talking about how suspicious Rebecca March is, and it went a lot deeper than her just being the leader of the court. Like, I guess she created the court. Like, she's that old. And I liked how Harvey was like, he's like, you don't look a day, or somebody was like, you don't look a day over 200, which was pretty funny. So she is the original scientist who discovered the Electrum. She creates a bunch of Talons, revives all of them. That theory comes true as well. We're getting multiple Talons here.
Yes.
We didn't get Brody Talon, but I'm guessing he was locked in that coffin to probably become a Talon at some point. Just Stephanie and Harper were able to get to him before that happened. And I thought it was also interesting seeing, like, the power struggle between Rebecca and Lincoln. Again, it was kind of a very much so a misdirect from the beginning of the show. It was like, oh, Lincoln March, he's Owlman in the comics. He's gonna be the voice of the court here. But no, his wife is even crazier and has even more evil plans. And I liked how when she killed him, I guess, or poisoned him towards the end, he was like, "You are pure evil," and then dies.
I thought it was really funny. I was like, "Are you not pure evil?" Like, I felt like,
yeah, like you're not a good dude either, bro.
No.
Like, and then Brody was sad that his dad was like died, and I was like, yeah, I guess because I guess he's the one who revived him, is what we're supposed to imply from that.
Yeah.
Or is the one that like imbued him with the Electrum, but
yeah. No, I mean, he's definitely not great. Like, he's tried to kill kids and like, he's not in a great spot. But it is very fun to kind of see the like layers of the Court of Owls and just like, I was shocked, like when they all just died, like they're all just dead in this episode. I was like, what is going on? Like, what are we doing here?
And then that whole scene with like the court lined up at the dinner table and stuff like that, that's all ripped straight from the comics as well. Which is really cool. I think also one of the biggest criticisms that a lot of people had was it didn't feel very comic booky originally. But as this season has progressed, they've pulled so much from just like, deep cuts of DC Comics and everything like that, really representing the court very well. I honestly think that this is one of my favorite on-screen representations of the Court of Owls outside of like, what was it, the Batman versus Robin animated movie that they did with the Talon and everything like that. That was really cool. But I think the show, it's very funny how when the Gotham Knights game was coming out, they were like, oh, we have absolutely nothing to do with this show. Like, don't worry about it. We're completely separate. I think the story of the show has been way stronger than the story of the game was. And I am prepared to die on that hill.
Oh man, no, I mean, I obviously haven't played the game, but I think the Court of Owls is one of them where I was like, I would like to see this done in a very cool way, like in live action. I still think that like Robert Pattinson Batman would be a really cool world to see these characters.
That would be a great one to do the Court of Owls in.
Yeah, I mean, I know Gotham did it at one point, and that was kind of a weird one.
Yeah, and like I think now people will feel like it's overused, but I think if you have a new take on it, like this show is doing, it's a different take than we've seen before. Like there's a slightly deeper layer with the whole Rebecca wanting to basically just make everybody immortal, and then decides, oh wait, let me just murder the entire court, I guess is what she did, and then she's the only one left. It's just her and the Talons versus the world at this point, and she's trying to convince Harvey to join her, and he's like, I love that scene where he's like, nah, you're crazy, like I'm not, I have nothing to do with you.
Where do we think like that's just her ultimate plan? Is just like take over the world, or is there something else?
I think her ultimate plan is just live forever and then kill anyone who stands in her way. Like I think that's really just kind of what it boils down to. Is she's just kind of, textbook evil villain, like I want to live forever type of thing. And I think in many ways that is very Ra's al Ghul of her as well. It's very League of Assassins to do that. But I think it is an interesting twist that I definitely did not see coming, was the fact that not only is she the voice of the court, not only is she the leader of the court, but she's, I guess, the founder of the court because she discovered Electrum 200 some years ago.
Yeah, no, I thought that was very fun.
And what do you think is in store for Harvey next? Because he kind of gets taken away there at the end. I have my theories.
Harvey, no.
I guess he's in there.
Yep. There we go.
Yeah, I was even wondering, like, this episode, like, is it going to happen now? Are we? I was actually kind of hoping something. Oh, because then we get a whole episode with it next week. But no, it's a cliffhanger. I think we end the season.
Yeah, I do have a behind the scenes picture of that. I don't know if you want to show that or not. I can find it.
Sure, I've seen one at some point.
And then I think also in the trailer, it also shows it a bit. I gotta.
All right, if you want
I gotta find it.
Okay. All right.
Let me do that, and I can.
Who do I want to talk about? I do want to talk about, I guess, Brody a little bit. Because I'll be honest, I kind of found myself liking Brody this episode.
Oh yeah, I will say I'd like to I'd like to retract all of my negative comments about Brody. He's actually very cool.
Yeah, no,
he came in clutch.
I don't know. He just kind of like he kind of fit in like a puzzle this week. I was like, oh, he's just kind of like one of us now. All right, cool. I wonder, if we would have got a season 2, if he would have been like a series regular going into season 2, or if he would have been like a part of our team, or if maybe he dies next week again. I'm not really sure.
I mean, I don't think I think he's got powers now. He can't die.
Maybe, but also like on that book show.
Yeah, that's true. He's imbued with the Electrum. But I guess you kill him enough, then the Electrum gets depleted. Like I guess all the old Talons.
Sure.
But yeah, I sent you said
okay over on
Harvey image over on Twitter DM.
Yep. Twitter. Okay.
The Twitterverse.
Let's Ooh, fun. I will say, I think this actor's having a blast. I really appreciate it. Like, I think he got so much backlash when the show started to come out. Like, why are you doing the show? How could you set yourself so low?
But I think it was a massive draw for a lot of people. Like, it's so funny as I see people that are massive fans of the show, people that hate the show and want nothing to do with it, and people that watch the show for Misha Collins and Misha Collins alone.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious.
No, I mean, those like Supernatural fans, I feel like they tuned in more for this show than like the prequel. Like I really do. Like that prequel, I didn't see many fans of the actual show watching it.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. We've talked about this before, but I feel like this show would have definitely had a lot more of a future if it was the Two-Face show featuring the Gotham Knights, not Gotham Knights featuring Two-Face.
I would have been down. I think that could have had a weird kind of
But obviously that wasn't the show that they were going for. And I liked the show that they were going for, but I just think for like the general audience, I think that would have been a lot easier to market. Was like, oh, this is like this Two-Face origin story kind of thing. Which is
I wonder
what
that show looks like.
I don't know.
Because I don't think... Okay, can you send that again? Because the file seems to be like corrupted or something. It's not letting me save the photo.
Hold on. Let me send it again.
But no, I mean, I think he's done a really fun job. I think he's been having a blast with this role, something very different than what... I mean, honestly, not, I guess, that different than what he's done over on, like, Supernatural, but something new, I guess. And I wonder what he's going to do next, because I think he's a good actor, and I want him to get roles.
Yeah, I do as well. It'd be great to see him come back as full Two-Face at some point. Like, because I feel like we're not going to get much of him in this episode, unfortunately. Like, we've seen the mold, like, to do the makeup and everything like that. The picture I sent you is kind of like, you can kind of see it.
Yeah, it's not letting me save this photo for some reason.
Okay. I have no clue then.
Oh well. Go over.
We'll describe it. I'll post it. Here, how about this? Actually, I'll just post it on Twitter, and then that should work.
Maybe.
There you go. I'll post it and I'll tag you.
Very fun. But yeah, no, I think he's definitely the part where it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna miss you. Harvey, no. Oh.
And that might be an easier way to save it. Welcome back.
Sorry, so before I even go, I want to say thank you guys for having me on. It was fun chatting with both of you guys, actually, especially Samara and Lois.
Yeah, it was great having you as well. It's been a long time coming to have you back.
Yeah,
absolutely, man. Anytime.
But yeah, I hope you guys have a great night. I'll see you guys next time.
All right, see ya.
See ya. There we go.
Oh, can I move? There we go. That's a little bit better.
He was covering up us.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited to see that transformation. I hope we at least get a couple minutes here in the episode to really enjoy it, and not just like the last minute cliffhanger that ended all off.
I mean, if we look at the trailer, I don't know if we're gonna go over the trailers at all, but there are a couple of shots that make me think it looks like we'll see a little bit more of just a little bit more than just the transformation. But unfortunately, I don't think there's much that you can do in a singular episode outside of just kind of showing the full origin. Like it seems like what is going to happen is Rebecca is going to be like, well, you know, if Harvey Dent doesn't want to, you know, team up with me on all this crazy Electra mad science-y nonsense, we're just going to flip him over to Two-Face permanently. And how do you do that? You just burn half his face off.
Oops. Yeah, no, I think that seems like a solid theory indeed. I'm very curious to see how we... I do apologize for all the clicking. I'm trying to pull up these promos.
Do you think we are going to get concrete confirmation as to who actually killed Bruce Wayne in this finale? Do you think we're going to know if it was a Talon, if it was Rebecca personally, or if it was Harvey under the influence of her and the court? I'm still going with that theory, and I'm still thinking that revelation could be what breaks him permanently.
Ooh, what if? Hold on. What if Turner finds out it was Harvey, and like Turner goes like he attacked, like, because like Turner's been kind of like tying into his dark side a little bit, and he's the one that creates Two-Face. He just like beats him to death or whatever, and he that's how he gets the
possibly.
All right, you know what? We were talking about that trailer a little bit. Let's just watch it. This stream's all over the place tonight, but that's okay.
Well, I'm big now. I'm big and you're small.
How do I get back to normal? Oh no. Okay. All right.
Musical boxes.
How do I pull this back up?
Seriously?
There we go.
Tens of thousands of people will die.
Gotham goes kaboom.
Look who's come out to play.
What makes you think that you can stop them?
Because we're the Gotham Knights.
Roll credits.
That's a very like Legends of Tomorrow line.
Oh yeah.
To me. Like
this.
Where are the legends? You know,
this looks fun.
Tomorrow. It does. Oh
like,
no!
Seriously, I'm gonna just say this: if you don't like this show, you don't like fun. Like it's a fun show.
It does look like this. Just looks like an insane like finale. Like
yeah. Like this is what this is everything that we've been waiting for.
Ooh,
a bunch of Talons versus the Gotham Knights, and Harvey finally becoming Two-Face.
Them in prison.
Yeah, like this is gonna be great.
They turned this into some. Oh, Is this the Talons or is this?
Oh yeah, it looks like all the Talons actually. Could be.
Ooh.
Yeah, because they've all got their specific melee weapons.
Yeah, no, this looks like such a fun like filled finale. Like there seems like there's a lot going on here.
And I think also it seems like Duella is gonna kind of be like the hero that everybody needs.
Yes,
because she's the only one that was not with the Knights and did not get captured. So, but now she's captured next to the bomb. But
indeed, yeah, I'm very. I've quite liked this character this season. I think she's had a fun journey, and I liked her thing last episode where it's like, all right, I guess I'll go save your butts. I guess I'll come save you. I do just like the ending of them all in jail. Like that's a really fun place to put them all in the finale, I think.
Well, because it's full circle. Where did they all meet? In that prison cell or in that holding cell, and now they're all back.
This is clearly Two-Face, and I'm excited to get a little bit more of a big bad Harv, I guess. Season finale as well, so we can expect a season 2 next fall.
We can expect season 2 back with just as many episodes, some new characters. I'd like to personally announce I will be playing Jason Todd.
Oh, really? Okay.
Next season, yes. I'll be starting out as the Arkham Knight and then transitioning into Red Hood. So that'll be great. I'll be hunting the Knights at the beginning of the season, and then team up with them towards the end of the season, and we're gonna fight Harvey Dent at the end.
I can also say I've been casted as King Shark. So
oh wow.
That's I mean, unfortunately, that's where their whole budget has gone to for season 2. So, sorry about that. You're just gonna get like a red hoodie.
I get a red hoodie and a Nerf gun.
I love this guy. Like, I love this character. Yeah. He's got so much screen time.
No, and that was so sad, right? That when they were being walked into the GCPD, and he looks over at Cullen, and he was like, "That one's been impersonating an officer for weeks." I was like, "No, Officer Hines."
This has been actually a really fun side character to bring in.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if he could have like been upped to like a series regular or something.
Yeah, no, like he could be their like their connection. Yeah, their connection at the GCPD, like their Gordon almost.
Yes, that could have been cool. I just love that we got that silly Colin outfit one last time.
Yeah,
this week.
Yeah. One last look at good old Rookie of the Year Officer Hines.
I feel bad for this mother. Man, she's probably having a heart attack.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, Carrie's like, "Mom, it'll be fine. Like, don't worry about it. I just gotta go be a hero." Gets captured immediately. I did also like how like kind of the last straw there when Duella saw all of them on the news getting captured. She's like, "Oh no, little bird too." I was like, ah.
So I do want to point out in the episode, again, I'm not very comic, like I'm not a comic expert or anything, but her mom called Duella Shiv, right? Did I pick up on that?
Yeah, she'd used Shiv as a possible name. I think it was just referring to actually like an actual like prison Shiv.
Okay.
Not like
so not
Shiv
Stargirl.
Not like Shiv on Stargirl. No.
Okay. I was like, did she also go by Shiv in the comics or something? Or
I don't believe so. No.
Okay. How did you feel about the? Let me pull out my character things because man. Me and characters don't go hand in hand. How did we feel about Sophie and
Stephanie
this week? Because obviously we had the big romance stuff last week, and it kind of carried into this week. Which I'll be honest, again, I liked the stuff this week, but there was several moments I'm like, "You're in a fight. Let's not make out now. We can do that later, maybe."
Well, it was funny when she did say, "Oh, let's go spoil dinner," because spoiler. So. I thought that was fun. And again, they were wearing their comic accurate colors. So that was nice.
Yeah. Yeah, no. That's where Superman and Lois. I'm on the wrong. I'm looking at characters. I was like, okay, this character. I'm like, no, this is the wrong page.
Wrong show.
Turner this week. I think Turner still continues to be my least favorite among this cast. He doesn't really add much to me.
Yeah, I think everybody has outshined him. I wouldn't say he's been bad, but I just feel like as the supposed lead of the show, he has not gotten as much development, nearly as much development as everybody else, unfortunately. Would that have changed in a season 2? Could he have become a much better character? I'm sure. But just sadly, they just did not focus as much time on developing him this season, I think, as most people would have liked. But then again, I think that they did a great job of building up everybody else as well, and there almost was no time to really develop him further than just like, I need to solve my dad's murder, and I'm brooding, and I'm kind of like Batman. I'm like a mini Batman.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think if Gotham Knights went through what Batwoman did with like their lead, they would manage just fine. Do you think we would upgrade like Duella or like Harper?
I mean,
like if one character had to get upgraded.
This is definitely an ensemble cast.
That's true.
So, I think you would have to say though Duella, just because she's gotten the most. I would say she's gotten the most development of all of the knights.
Yeah, that's true.
And I feel like this season was definitely also setting up for it to be Harvey as possibly our big bad for next season, and then obviously that connection there with, you know, Harvey being Duella's father. I think that would have played very well off of each other. But again, unfortunately, that's we're just not gonna get it, at least not right now.
Maybe we'll go to like Disney Plus. Everyone's favorite place to watch Batman. I do. Before we move on from Gotham Knights, or I guess kind of moving on from Gotham Knights, I did completely forget about the Superman Lois trailer for next week. I do want to bring it up really quick.
Yep.
It's time to go kill the Man of Steel.
What do you think about dying, Superman? Because you're about to.
Good old Lex. Good old
Evil Lex laugh.
Some of these shots feel reused, don't they?
Oh well, if you pull
this shot,
that
this
one,
is old.
Yeah,
right?
That is it's weird. It is a reshot reused because that was from the end of season 2.
Yeah.
The original Jonathan actor.
Oh, you're right.
Because that's the
Why would they
same
do
like
that?
that's the same like cardigan sweater thingy that Clark is wearing. That like
I
nice,
didn't even
that super
notice.
nice sweater that I'd definitely like to have for the winter.
That does look nice. What a weird thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. They definitely reused or repurposed that shot.
Bye, stranger again.
Have a great night.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I didn't even notice that. That's a really good catch. I'll be honest, I'm so used to this actor, I didn't even notice. I was like, oh yeah, that's just from last season. No, I forgot.
It did its job then.
I will say also this shot reminds me of the like Supergirl finale where like he's all like wet and they're like fighting inside the rain.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Guess we don't see very much like soaked Clark Kent. Yeah, I mean obviously pretty short trailer, not a lot here. Definitely building up the Lex versus Superman, and he's planning something to kill the Man of Steel, like we've been talking about. I love the script shot here of just everyone but
three
Superman.
three characters that are returning, and the rest of that are not.
It's nice to see Natalie and John back. Nice to see Chrissy there.
But will they be in their suits?
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
Or is it still broken? I don't remember.
I don't know.
I lose track. This looks like a very Lex Luthor shot. This kind of looks like the most he's looked like a Luthor.
Yeah. Lex Luthor sporting the nice long beard as well.
Ooh, a nice little Clark and Lois moment before he's gone. Most like death scenes in
Lois,
shows.
I'm gonna go fight Lex. I'll be right back. Don't worry. I'm not gonna Death of Superman myself.
Is this reused or no?
It could be. It could
it
be.
looks like it could be. We have a lot of shots
it's just a flying
like
shot.
this. Yeah. No, I'm not complaining.
It's just like I think it's just like the Flash. Like
this
when
one's
they
reused
can
as well,
reuse
too.
stuff. Yeah, it's like when they can
guarantee
reuse that type of thing and kind of like save on effects, and they'll just like flip it if they need to, or just change some coloring around. I'm sure.
So he's in a suit. I can't tell if it's like a robo suit or just like a.
I think that's just a leather jacket.
Okay, maybe. I don't know. It looked like robot-y. I don't know.
And then some Metropolis. Some Metropolis.
That's a nice
as
shot,
well.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is where we're going next year, honey. This is our new home. Yeah, honestly, I was really hyped. Like, I think the show like really hyped me up, but I was looking at it. I'm looking at it now.
This is a very hype It's a hype trailer for sure. I'm very excited for the finale. I feel like maybe my biggest criticism of this season as a whole has been it's kind of had the action take the back seat. It's been a lot more grounded, and that's kind of what I thought this season was going to be. But it's nice to see it kind of pick up here in the last in the last episode, and to know that we're gonna have this big action set piece. It looks like for the finale.
Yes. Yeah, I have nothing else to say. A very simple trailer, very hyped for next week. Our last promo for season 3. Last promo breakdown, I guess, for season 3.
Speaking of final promo, you made me cry last night when you sent me the season finale, and we were like, we're definitely getting more, right? Yeah,
definitely more. Yeah, I mean, it's good to finally know what's going on.
Oh yeah,
we can go into next week knowing.
I'd much rather know where we're headed than not. It would be even worse if we let these shows end and not know the future of them.
Yes, 100%. So we're heading on our 2-hour mark like normal. I do want to talk about one of the whole reason we're doing this on a Wednesday and not a Tuesday like we normally do.
It's because it's leg day.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't download any photos or videos or anything for this. But I want to talk about Secret Invasion, our newest Marvel show. Now I want to say it's been a while. It's been almost a year, I think, since we had a Disney Plus Marvel show to talk about.
Yeah, I think it's like 8 months or something like that.
She-Hulk, and that ended in like September, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been quite a minute. So what's your kind of opinion on like Disney Plus shows as a whole, kind of like what we've got before? Because I know it's a very, each person loves some and hates some. It's kind of been a weird ride for these shows.
They've been very hit or miss for me. Like, there are some that I really, really enjoy. I really enjoyed WandaVision. That one made me do like a crazy video essay on it. It was so good. I loved WandaVision. Hawkeye as well. Always gonna have a special place in my heart just because I'm a big Hawkeye fan.
Yeah.
And it's a good Christmas show, and you don't really have very many like Marvel Christmas movies. It's like Iron Man 3, and that's about it. So
Spider-Verse, kind of.
yeah, a little bit. You're right. Into the Spider-Verses. And then I'd say Moon Knight as well was one that I really loved. I know that one's a little bit more of a controversial take. But aside from that, they've kind of been somewhat hit or miss for me. I will say I was a much bigger fan of the Marvel Netflix shows. But also those are a whole different beast than the Disney Plus shows.
Yeah, I think almost all of them kind of exist in this same area of like the MCU for me, where like I like pretty much all of them, but they all kind of, I think, drop the ball or do things where I'm like, I didn't love that. I didn't love like you. I think they often start really good. They sometimes end really good. But then there's that middle bit where I'm like, this is an MCU movie now, and I definitely think there's that thing of like, they have that formula that they like to stick to, and they end it with your big superhero battle, and I think a lot of these shows try to escape the formula, and I think we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight with this newest one. But a lot of them like, okay, we have this tone, we have this style, we have what we're going for, and then it's like, but we're superheroes, so we're gonna use our powers, and we're gonna do this big gigantic fight that makes no sense in the context of the show, and all that kind of fun stuff. But going to Secret Invasion, I've been excited for Secret Invasion for a while. I remember, I don't know if I've ever read the comic, but I remember the animated Avengers show all those years ago.
Yeah.
Like that, I was in love with that. I was like, this is like, they don't know who's a Skrull and who's not, and like that was like, this is amazing. I'm so excited for this. And I think the version we're getting in the MCU is definitely very different than what maybe teenage Darren wanted for like a show like this, right? Like he was imagining like Avengers, but like with the storyline, right? I think that's what a lot of people kind of wanted when it was announced. They wanted like Iron Man and Captain America, and they fight and they don't know who's who, and all that kind of fun stuff. But this is, a very like Nick Fury centered show. And I love Nick Fury. As a fan of like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., there's a bit of me that's like, when are these characters popping up? I love this. Like, I love the like Captain America movies, and this feels very in tone with that. But just kind of going into this first episode, how are you kind of feeling thus far?
It definitely surprised me, especially like the first opening 10-15 minutes. I think it looked really good. I think the every shot was lit very well. There was some very interesting camera work and everything in that first bit. Especially when we kind of like led up to that first big reveal. It very much so felt like what was advertised, like this very interesting spy thriller type of thing, where you don't really know who to trust. You don't know, you don't have the full story. You don't really know what's going on. And then kind of like the middle portion tried to, exposition dump a lot of stuff to us. And then we had like a bigger kind of like action-y end point. Where we did get another pretty big, I guess, reveal or a big shot. How about that?
No. I mean, I think a lot of these like first episodes, I think they do some really cool stuff. Like Miss Marvel felt like nothing we had ever seen before. I think WandaVision felt like nothing that we had ever seen before. And Moon Knight, like these all first episode felt very like, this is totally different than anything we've seen. And I think this episode did carry that out very much. This doesn't feel like anything I've seen from the MCU, at least in a long while, since like maybe Winter Soldier. And I like the tone. I like the style. I like the overall theme we're setting up, where you cannot trust anyone. And there's stakes in that. And I think you feel that like right out of the gate, where it's like, you don't know who anyone is. I think that's all very, very cool. I will say again, there's a lot of dialogue here. There's a lot. Half this episode is just setting the world of what we can expect, and there's a lot. Like I was getting a little overwhelmed with how much of it there was. It's like, oh, okay, you really need to pay attention, like write notes and stay focused on what people are saying, because it is going to be important going forward. And I'm curious about that, to see how it evolves from this episode, because again, I think they set everything up pretty well. I think they set up this world that Nick Fury is currently living in. And, how you end the episode, I think, there are now stakes. Like, they kill multiple people in this episode.
Right, yeah, they're not holding anything back here. Like, it's not just like a, off on its own little random show. Like, this actually matters to the wider MCU, and you definitely feel the stakes there. Is like, hey, if Nick Fury and the team does not stop this Skrull invasion, like, the Marvel universe that we know of could be in jeopardy.
Yes. Yeah, and I think you feel that. I love the opening scene, I guess, where it's just like this crazy man, like he's onto something, and I don't know what to do with all this stuff, and it's all these things, and it's like I feel that. Like I feel like these characters are actually in danger, and I liked that a lot. So I know I want to talk about Maria Hill just a little bit. I was very excited for the show because I was very excited to see more of Maria Hill. I always thought I wanted more of her. I wanted her in a lot more S.H.I.E.L.D. than she was. I wanted her in more Marvel projects. I even said like, hey, maybe someday she can get her own project, like down the line. I think that would be really cool. And she's dead. Killed Maria Hill, which I want to, like, I know she hasn't been the biggest, but she's been here since what? Iron Man 2?
She's been here for quite a while. Definitely shocking, and again to kind of show the actual stakes here and the fact that the show is not afraid to kill characters. Like if somebody pops up, like their safety is not guaranteed just because they've been a part of the MCU for a while. And I think we did talk about this a little bit before we went live, but the fact that her name was not in the opening credits definitely made me a little suspicious of what was going on, and the fact that they just waited until the end of the episode to say, oh, special appearance by this actress. Like it's like, oh, okay, like obviously they weren't planning on having her continue very 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 far past this episode.
Yeah, it sucks. I'm fine with killing her. Like, I think she's a character that I could see dying in the show. I kind of just wish it was like the end of the season type thing. Like, I wish she was like a part of the show throughout the whole thing, and then like episode 6, she's your like big sacrifice or something.
But it definitely set some more motivation for Nick Fury going forward. And it was also kind of sad that the last image that she saw was Nick Fury shooting her, because she was very suspicious throughout the entire episode. It was like, oh, Nick, you've been, acting a little different ever since the blip or the snap and all this stuff. And I think that is really, Nick Fury PTSD type of thing going on. But she kind of thought, oh, maybe he's a Skrull. Like I can't trust anybody. And the main evil Skrull dude, I didn't really pick up his name, but main evil Skrull dude was like, oh, no, I'm gonna impersonate Nick Fury and just shoot her. And that was the last image that she saw, was her friend betraying her.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a very sad thing. That it really is. To think that that's the final thing she ever sees is one of her closest friends and colleagues. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and again, I think, I she had a couple appearances over on Shield throughout the year, and I was always a big fan of those. And I think there could have been more for Maria Hill. I'm not like devastated or anything, but
right.
It is sad that I wish she could have got more. If that's in, I don't know where she would have fit in. Maybe like a WandaVision or something. I don't know. Who knows? I think all the Shield stuff just as a whole, I wish was in here more. But this makes more room for other agents to pop in. If any of my Shield family wants to pop in for an episode, I'm fine with that. Just don't kill them. Or make them Skrulls. We're good. I do want to talk about the blip a little bit, because the blip's mentioned a lot here, and I think the show does a pretty good job at kind of putting it how fans were thinking, because there's been a lot of we haven't had a lot of Nick Fury. There hasn't been a lot of him. He's been off road. He hasn't done much in Phase 4 and a lot of Phase 3 even. And I think this kind of was like everyone else is thinking the same thing. It's like, you've been gone. You may as well stay gone, and you doing a lot. How did you feel about everything with the blip and almost his PTSD from that? And I there was a really good line where it's every time you defeat one thing, another one just pops up and it's even worse, or something along those lines. And I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think it made a lot of sense as a direction to go with Fury here. Is we saw all the way back, obviously, in Captain Marvel, when he was kind of first introduced to all of this, craziness, and then he has the idea for the Avengers Initiative and all that, and he thinks oh, the Avengers is gonna protect the world, and then stuff hits the fan and things go wrong, and he's gone for 5 years, and then he's like, oh, everything that I thought I knew has completely changed.
Sure.
And now the fact that this race of aliens that he thought were, on their side, I think it was very much so established at the end of Captain Marvel. These are good Skrulls, especially Talos and stuff like that. Okay, these guys are pretty chill. They'll just hang out on Earth, whatever. Now that there's a sect of them that has decided to go rogue and try to take over the planet, again, kind of showing, hey, Nick Fury is not always, as much as we would like to think, he's not always prepared for everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think Nick Fury has been kind of almost this perfect character up until this point. It felt like he's always prepared for everything. He knows everything. He's ready for everything. And he hasn't really got a real project to be he's not perfect, and he's been going through a lot, and he has a lot on his back that he's trying to do.
The only thing he was never prepared for was getting scratched in the eye by a Flurkin cat.
Yeah, I didn't love that.
Oh no, that was great.
Okay. No, I enjoy. Again, I'm very excited to see. Like again, this is his first real project. It feels like. Like I know he had a big stake in like Winter Soldier and stuff like that, but it feels like he's finally getting
solo
this thing.
outing.
Yeah, and I'm so excited for that, and I think we are really going to get some really cool stuff with him in these upcoming episodes. And I do think, like, I think this might be one of the rare examples where a 6-episode type show is going to fit very well, because I think it might be a very short, condensed story for him.
Yeah, I think 6 episodes is going to work perfectly for this story for sure.
Absolutely. Kazi says, okay, question, Darren, is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. canon to the MCU? This is an always constant question, but I will say, over on Twitter today, it gave us a lot of hope, because apparently on the Marvel website, they had as like canon events for Nick Fury, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was on there. The show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was on there for the season 1 finale, I think, which he was featured. And that makes me very happy. I think, I've always kind of been under the assumption like this was a spinoff from the MCU. It was always the MCU for me until it was proven otherwise, and nothing proved it otherwise. And I think this show, we will learn either way. If it is, if it isn't. I think Coulson is in the show. I think we're going to see a version of Coulson in the show. If that's... I don't want to spoil it just in case Taz ever wants to jump in, but like how we see him at the end of the show, if it's
is he a
Skrull? is it Skrull? If it's Skrull, I'm worried, because he might be like, I'm your friend Coulson. I never died. And, if it's the thing where like, oh yeah, you died by Loki, if that's what they say, then I'd be afraid of like, oh yeah, they just don't think it's canon. I don't know. Like there's that worry in me that they might still go that route. But they seem to lead like on Disney Plus, like it's with the like where you can find Coulson or find Fury and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm hoping. But I guess for now it's just headcanon. Kazi also says Maria Hill dying was shocking, but also makes me think that Marvel Studios never knew what to do with the character. Even she was even with she has appears in many movies, but she does nothing that affects the plot. Yeah, she's always kind of there as your like side agent that kind of does stuff. Like I know she was in Age of Ultron. I think she was in Far From Home, right?
Yeah, but it was a Skrull version of her.
yeah, it was, I guess.
Yeah, because it was Talos as Fury, and then was it, I guess, his wife that was impersonating Hill?
Maybe.
And I feel like that's also kind of my big question. Was there something that I missed? Or are we supposed to be kind of lost as far as that goes with Talos' wife is dead? I think so, because the last time we saw him was Far From Home. Right, that's what I was saying. Mistaken. I was like, is there something that I missed where they popped up and that was the thing? But
I think it was all off screen.
Okay. Just making sure that I didn't like zone out or something. I did watch this episode at like 4 in the morning last night.
I will say, when it comes to Tal, and I actually really do like Tal. I think he's a pretty fun character to watch.
Oh yeah, Talos is great.
I think everything with him, I wish there was a little bit more of showing and not telling, because a lot of that stuff, like I would have liked to have seen.
Right.
Maybe a scene where we show the wife dying. Like I think I'd care a lot more about. Gaia, I think is his daughter's name.
Yeah, I feel like we'll maybe get some more of that backstory
I hope
as the season develops and stuff. I think that is an interesting dynamic. Is his daughter is working for the bad guy, or the bad guy version of the Skrulls and everything like that. And obviously, there's a choice that will have to be made there.
Yeah, I actually really like the villain perspective thus far. Like I think it is very. I know the shows often have a villain problem for me. I don't think a lot of these MCU shows, even sometimes movies, have great villains. I was very afraid after like the Winter Soldier show, because it was giving me that same vibe that they could have gone through, where they're like sympathetic but not really villains, and didn't really handle it maybe the way I wanted to. But so far, I like where we're going, I think.
Yeah. Now that you bring up Falcon and Winter Soldier, I just have to say I did love Zemo. Zemo was
his
great.
little dance.
Yeah, and especially when they released the 1 hour cut of that was great.
I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, I think they randomly posted on like the Marvel YouTube. It just loops it for an hour.
That's funny. Okay, so I feel like I missed it in the episode. was Ross a Skrull and he's dead, or was the Skrull just pretending to be Ross?
I don't. They didn't explain that, but the version of him that we saw at the beginning of the episode was a Skrull, but they didn't make it clear as to how long he's been a Skrull. But I feel like the fact that they showed that like that area in their base where they're keeping all the humans that they're impersonating, I feel like there's gonna be at some point maybe a scene where we get to the real versions of everybody who has been kind of like taken over, not taken over by a Skrull, but has been replaced with a Skrull.
I don't know. I feel like
we might see him that way.
Like, I always kind of thought Ross may have been a Skrull. Like, I thought he may have been that, like the whole time. And I was like, he's a pretty, not massive character, but I felt like he was a pretty big character, like, in the Black Panther franchise. I thought going into, like, Thunderbolts with, like, Madam Hydra, or, you know, whatever, I figured he was going to be a pretty significant role in this show.
Yeah.
So I
actually
hoping...
didn't know he was going to be in the show.
Oh, really?
Until I actually had been very much so avoiding anything on this show just because I felt like that's the best way to go into it. Like it's very much so supposed to just, you know, surprise you. So I went in basically completely blind.
Interesting. So. I mean, yeah, it is interesting because again, I thought like Ross was going to be a big part. I thought Maria was going to be a big part. I don't know who's going to pop up next. I mean,
Forget
I know
everything you know.
You know, honestly, like in the trailers, they haven't shown a lot either. Like, I feel like we could have some like surprises popping in here. Like, they have talked about the show as if it's like a crossover like event almost. So I'm wondering, like, could we? Like, I know the whole plot point is you can't have Avengers in here, but could you have like I don't know, like a Kate Bishop or something pop in and say hi or something?
That would be fun.
Speaking of Avengers, we had Rhodey for like 5 seconds in this episode. Obviously, Rhodey seems to be I don't want to say co-lead of the show, but a pretty big part of the show. We've heard it's going to set up secret the Armored War show that's coming. Where do we think we're going with Rhodey this season? Do we think he's a Skrull? Do you think so?
He's been a Skrull since Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
I will die on that hill once again. I've been a big fan of that theory for a while.
Yeah,
he's been a Skrull since like Civil War.
But do you think he died there, or do you think he's just like in a cell somewhere?
I think it would be very interesting if he did actually die and was replaced by a Skrull.
That'd be heartbreaking.
That would be awful. If that's the case.
Yeah.
It's possible, but I think probably the more likely option, if he is a Skrull, we'll find the real version of him.
Yeah.
By the end of the show. But I think there's something going on there.
Yeah.
There's got to be.
I think he is a Skrull. I think that's going to be your massive twist, like in episode 5 or whatever. Say, oh my gosh, you know, I think what we're going to do is I think he's been a Skrull since Civil War. I think that's the thing. And since then, he's gained power. He's gained, like, you know, gears to like the government. He has all these suits now that Tony's dead. And I think he's giving them to the like government to do whatever they want with it, which leads into Armored Wars, where it's like the like government having all the suits. And I think what's going to happen is Skrull Rhodey's going to die. Our original Rhodey comes out and it's like, what has he done to ruin my life over these years?
Fix everything.
Yeah. So that movie is all about
crazy
him
too. That he missed Tony's death.
That could be a heartbreaking movie, actually.
Yeah.
If they go that route.
Wow. All right. That'd be crazy.
Hope it happens. If it happens, or I guess like a year. Well, honestly, I don't even know when that movie's happening.
I don't know because originally it was a series, wasn't it?
It was a series, and now it's a movie. Which I think, which is an interesting choice. I think Rhodey, I like that for him, but I like the idea of a show more.
Yeah. So I mean, in many ways, it feels like that'll just be like that's Iron Man 4.
I'm actually shocked they're not calling it that, because that gets more money.
I think. It would. Or just call it War Machine.
Maybe. I like Armored Wars. I think that's
Armored Wars is
Yeah. All right. That final fight I thought was pretty fun. The whole like big explosions and the like tracking the child with like that colored balloon or ball or whatever it was.
Right, and then the Skrull just like kept changing people as they like went behind different things. Like that was pretty cool. That was a cool visual.
I Did you like the like interrogation scene with Nick and like that whole fight scene?
It was interesting. It was interesting. Like I said, the middle chunk of this episode was I somewhat zoned out a bit. Like,
I feel that,
it was very exposition heavy. And then I kind of like picked back up when we kind of we're looking for this bomb and all that, and they were like tracking it through the crowd and stuff. I thought that was cool, but again, you have to kind of do that in a premiere like this. You have to set the groundwork.
Sure.
You have to kind of draw people in by fleshing out the story here, kind of explaining where we are and everything for those who aren't as caught up or anything. But yeah, I just feel like at certain points they did go way too heavy on the exposition.
Yeah. I wish there was a little bit more showing.
Yeah.
Some backslash scenes I think could have been cool to pace it out a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
I do mention because we had our first official name drop of Saber, which is like the big like new space station that's like our new shield, right? I know a lot of people were expecting Sword, and there was a little there's a little setup for that back in Shield as well.
Right.
And I think it's very
that's
interesting.
what we're going to in the Marvels, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they showed that inside of the trailer. I don't have an issue with like the change name. I think Sword sounds better, but I'm fine with it.
Yeah. I feel like isn't Saber, what is it? Saber Interactive. I think that's like a game studio.
I've heard of something with Saber.
Hold on.
I've heard of something.
Saber Interactive. Yep, they're a video game developer.
Ooh. Maybe Fury is like a Fortniter now.
They made an Evil Dead the game. Interesting. Okay.
Very nice.
Back to it. Research concluded.
I mean, I don't have very much here. Again, it was kind of hard to write notes because there was just so much kind of like.
Again, it's like a very much so an exposition heavy episode.
Yes. Not
too much crazy happened. Some people are Skrulls. Nick Fury's back. Maria Hill's dead. Talos is still very cool, and that's about it. Beware the Skrulls.
yeah. I'm curious because I know a lot of fans weren't a fan of these first two that they saw. Right, a lot of people saw it first, and they went on like Rotten Tomatoes. It was like a 68 on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever. And I could kind of maybe get why some people weren't a fan of this first episode if it's just based on these first two. I'm curious what it's kind of turns into, like what episode 3, 4, 5, 6 kind of looks like.
It's hard to judge a show like this on just 2 episodes because it very much so is just an extended movie. And I know I didn't mention this earlier. I just thought about this. I completely forgot this was a show, Loki. Like it's very hard to judge that on just the first couple of episodes. You kind of have to judge it as like really, is it just you kind of have to judge it as like a complete story, or like if you were judging WandaVision on just the first couple of episodes, it's incredible, and then it kind of devolves to like big CGI fight in the final episode. So it just these are very much so just 6-hour movies rather than series in a way, and not that that's a bad thing, but I just think that they need to find a better balance between TV show and movie, because in many ways it seems like a lot of these shows could very easily work as a 2.5 hour, 3-hour movie rather than being stretched to 6 hours for a show.
I think this is weirdly one I think can work in the 6-hour event though. Like
I think that this one will work as far as the show goes. Like I think the setup there is there.
Yeah, I think Loki, I think those feel like those 6-hour events that we've been kind of like they've all been this, but I think those fit perfectly. But again, I'm gonna be curious because I also think just the pacing of like who is who, what can work in that weekly format of this each week we're here. Like, is this person a Skrull? What happens here? Is he going to find out this person's like? I think that can work in that show format.
Yeah, and this does feel like one that'll work better on a binge as well.
Maybe, yeah. My final thought. I did like that line from Fury where like they're talking about their like midlife crisis, and he's like I bought the Avengers or something. I thought that
yeah,
was
it was
really
like, what
funny.
was your midlife crisis? The Avengers.
That was funny. Yeah, that's pretty great. Yeah, but that's all I have. Do you got any final thoughts on this episode?
No, I mean, I think we pretty much covered everything. That's about where I stand. I'm more so intrigued than I was going into this first episode. Like I said, I very much so avoided everything going into it. I wasn't super excited for it. It wasn't something that I had a lot of hype around, but I am definitely intrigued, and we'll be checking out the rest of the season for sure.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it all turns out over these next 5 or so weeks. But with that all being said, you guys, I think that's going to be enough for us. Thank you for everyone who popped in tonight. Thank you, obviously Taz, who popped in like normal, who popped in, chatted with us for 2.5 hours. It's always a pleasure. Do you have any big plans for this week? Any streams? Any videos that you want to promote?
Yeah, I was planning on doing just kind of like a very similar stream to what I did before the Flash finale. Just kind of like a nice little speculation on the finales, similar to what we did for Superman and Lois and Gotham Knights and everything. I'm thinking I'll do that in place of a normal like breakdown style video. And then following both the finales, I will have big breakdowns for both Gotham Knights and Superman and Lois in those weeks to come.
Sounds good indeed. And yeah, for me, I'm not sure what next week looks like, but tomorrow I'm doing my own Flash stream. It feels very weird because I've already been on 2 of them, so I'm gonna try. I'm just gonna aim for a very, very chill, very just kind of slower, I guess, Flash breakdown and talk with my good buddy, the Red Arrow. It's great to have him back on the channel. Very excited. I'm trying to think any other updates. My plan for next week, and I hopefully I can commit to it. All the episodes of the podcast should finally be on Spotify over the course of the next week or so, or your Apple Podcasts and all that fun stuff. I've been meaning to get them on here, but it's been unsuccessful so far. But again, thank you everyone who's watched. Thank you King Vader, who was in here earlier, chatted with us about some Superman and Lois. And without further ado, I will see you guys on the flip side. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.